Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Jedi Talk. I'm your host, Brad Hughes, and today I'm joined by not Evan. I don't know what he's doing. He's working or something at California Grill. I don't know what he's doing. He's off doing his own thing. And today I am joined by the new 1/3 of the podcast, someone who I love very, very much, and I can't wait to have in studio in person by August something. I can't wait to have you in here and doing it with us in person. I can't wait for all three of us to do a show together. I'm talking to Thomas Oakry. Thomas, what's up, buddy?
Just the fact that we're on fire here in Phoenix, Arizona currently, where I'm residing from, outside of that, it's pretty freaking cool. Hey, I'm on Jedi Talk. I'm on the world famous Jedi Talk.
It's exciting. I don't know about world famous, but I'll take it.
Yeah. I'm excited.
It's exciting, man. This is like a new era for the show. So for me, there was the Josh and me era. There was the me era. There was the me and Alex era. Then there was the me and just Evan era. Then there was like the last few weeks where I've done this by myself, just me era. I think I did like one. I'm being dramatic. And then there's now going forward, there's the you, me, and Evan era. This is exciting, man. And Alex when he comes in on the show too.
Nice.
Like that's exciting.
Nice. Yeah.
I was talking to him today.
Alex is your buddy who writes for Star Wars Newsnet, correct?
Yes, he does a lot of the he writes a lot for Star Wars Newsnet for like the comic books and that kind of stuff. So he knows the expanded universe. I would argue better than anyone. He knows it very, very well. He's awesome, and he's actually moving back to Australia. I talked to him today. And he was telling me Happy Father's Day and all that, blah, blah, blah. We talk all the time, but I love him. He's the man. He's going to be at Celebration, by the way.
Ooh.
I cannot wait for you, me, him, and Evan to be there hanging out, nerding out at Star Wars Celebration.
Well, let's do it. Why aren't we there already?
I can't wait, man. I booked my hotel today. I'm so excited.
Did you?
I did. Yes. I can't wait. So before we get started, I want to do this in person more than I want to do it here, but I feel like since people don't know you yet and you're new to the show, there's a reason you're on the show. It's not because you're just some passive Star Wars fan. You're not just some dude that I said hi to once. We've talked, we've gotten to know each other a little bit over the past, especially the past few weeks. But like, so give me like your Star Wars opinions. Give me two of your hot takes. I want to know like why you became a Star Wars fan, and then give me two hot takes.
Okay, I could do that. So why I became a Star Wars fan?
Or how, I should say. I should say how, not
how.
why.
How? Well, okay, how. So I'm very much a late-wing Star Wars fan and people are going to hate that I say this, and this could particularly be a hot take as to how I got into Star Wars, but Disney did it for me. Disney did it for me. When they took over, when they bought Lucasfilm, I was much more into the sequel trilogy and those releases than I was I wasn't alive with the OG trilogy. And the prequels, outside of going on a field trip in 7th grade to go see The Phantom Menace, it wasn't much of an event for me. But it just took me a while, right? But it took me a while how I really got into Star Wars, but when I did, and thanks to Disney, and thanks to and even thanks to this podcast too, because when I was getting into it, not to sound cliche or anything like that, but when I was really getting into things and discovering a world, just this expanded universe, it just opened my mind. I never hated on Star Wars. I never kept my distance for a reason, but there was just something I just wasn't as connected to it. But once I did, and it was like an awakening when I saw The Force Awakens. To be as cliche as I possibly can be with that, there was an awakening when I saw the movie. It was just an event. It was my first Star Wars event, and my mind was blown. And I took off from there. So some Star Wars hot takes for me. And I don't think this is a hot take, but The Last Jedi is probably the best Star Wars movie that exists, in my opinion.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, and we can call that a hot take. I know you agree. I know Evan is big on the movie. My other podcast partner, Kyle, who I podcast with on the Fourth Mother Box. Thank you very much for that plug. Who I do that with hates the Last Jedi. But any chance I get to rub it in his face, I do, and we'll be doing a lot of that. on Jedi Talk, obviously. But another hot take of mine is something that you and I haven't really talked much about, but I think the Star Wars universe needs a Zack Snyder directed film.
I knew this was going to come up. I knew this was going to come
You
up.
knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I disagree wholeheartedly.
I know.
And we can talk. I want to hang on to this until Evan gets here, so there's a third person, because I think he doesn't care. Because honestly, I don't know this. I'm speaking for him when I probably shouldn't be, but I don't even know if he knows who Zack Snyder is and like the extent of what that means and like his directing style. So we'll save that for we'll save that for your first show in person. How about that?
Yeah. That sounds perfect. Because they'll give you some like obvious time to collect my thoughts, and maybe it'll give Evan a chance to bone up a little bit on some Snyder. But if we really want him to be a neutral aspect in the situation, he could just stay away, and we can both give him our sides of the story. But
I think he needs to at least know who he is and like the style and the context of what we're saying. Because if you've never seen a Quentin Tarantino movie, but you know the name. You could probably go like Tarantino should do a Star Wars. Tarantino is my all-time favorite director. I would never want to see him direct a Star Wars movie because I just don't think his style fits. You know what I'm saying? So like you'd have to understand the style and like the way that person makes something for you to even to have an argument about like how that person could or should direct a Star Wars film. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally follow it. It makes perfect sense. And that argument is just too. I completely understand. I could be talked into seeing, because I could see how Snyder's filmmaking doesn't work too. And again, I'm going to save most of my thoughts for when we get into person with Evan. But it should be a really good discussion. I'm
going to watch the Snyder cut between now and when we do that, because I want to come full, because I haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched it. I honestly don't even think I haven't seen Wonder Woman. Ooh. I've seen Batman vs Superman, which was not, the movie was terrible, but like on top of that, like it was the worst movie going experience. I think I've told the story on the show before. I had a lady that was sitting in front of me that every 4.5 seconds, I timed it out. Every 4.5 seconds coughed the entire movie.
Oh.
So like something happens on screen. The entire movie. Me and Holly were like making fun of her. We stopped watching the movie and started like talking about her. It was the worst movie going experience. So I do need to give the movie another shot, just because it's the DCEU, which is not as catchy as MCU, but whatever.
It's no, you're right. It's not. And when I find myself saying it, I have to.
Why not just DCU?
Because it's the extended universe. Because the liberty DC has versus what Marvel doesn't have at the moment, to an extent, is DC's got the property to every single one of their characters, and they can make a movie about Condiment King if they want.
Oh, really? So that they dude, I would love a Condiment King movie. That's awesome. If you don't know who that is, that's a Batman villain that like no one knows about. I know Condiment King, dude. I know. See, the thing is, I know comic books like well enough to have a conversation about like pretty much any character. I actually think if you wanted to do a Batman movie that would slap, I don't remember the guy's name, but the guy who's the ventriloquist would be such a weird, creepy, out of left field Batman villain that would freak people out. What's his name?
The actual ventriloquist, Scarface. Are you talking about the doll?
Yes. The dude with the doll, because and you could even like cast like Jeff Dunham in that role to make it even more believable. Ooh. He could go super, super dark. I think that would be really interesting for a Batman villain, because they always do Joker. Like every time they reboot Batman, it's Joker. That's why I liked the Christopher Nolan movies, because they kind of went with a different direction with some of the Batman villains, like especially in the first one. Like introducing Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul was just like so random.
Oh, it was good.
It was great. No, don't get me wrong. Those three movies are masterpieces. I think all three of them are great. Of course, Dark Knight is the best, just because that performance of the Joker. I feel bad for anyone doing Joker going. Even Joaquin Phoenix. Like I remember when that movie was coming. As good as Joker, I thought Joker was fantastic. As good as Joker was, people were still going like, "Oh, it's not the same." I'm like, okay, well, hang on. It's not the same Joker. It's not, I kind of also think it's really easy, and this is just probably ignorance, but I've done a little bit of acting. I've did improv, stand up, and and that requires acting, and it's not the same as like an Academy Award winning level of acting, but it requires acting, and I think it's really easy to play an unhinged person. It's a little less easy to play someone who kind of slowly devolves into that, which I think the Joaquin Phoenix movie did very, very well.
Yes, he did, and he won an Oscar, deservingly so for it. Before I forget this thought, this is going back to what you said originally about. I would have you rewatch Batman vs Superman and watch the Unlimited edition. And if you could hold off until I'm there, I'd love to watch those movies with you.
I know a night we can do it.
Okay, perfect.
Done. We'll do it. I'm in.
All right. Done.
Like, here's the thing. I have an open mind. I want to like everything, but a lot of things I just don't like. And you want to know a hot take? I'd love to come on Fourth Mother Box and talk about this. Hot take. Ooh. I love the Joel Schumacher Batman movies. How about that?
Oh, that is a hot take.
I love them. I think they are so fun. And here's why I love them. And I'll talk about this more. But I think they are the perfect middle piece from the transition of having like the 60s? It was the 60s, right? With Adam West?
Yes, sir.
It was the 60s show of having that like campy, like super bang, pow, wham Batman show into having the Michael Keaton Dark Knight movie, or not Dark Knight, but the Batman movie that he did with Tim Burton that was like super, super dark. And I think it's like a perfect middle ground between that, the Adam West series, and what we got ultimately with Christopher Nolan. And I know they're separate, but I think like if you're looking at like on a timeline, it's a perfect middle ground.
That's a spectacular point that I have honestly anybody make for that movie franchise.
I came up with that just now, by the way. Yeah, I did. I mean it, but I never really thought about it. But I never really put it into words. But like, I do love those movies. Like the Mr. Freeze thing's a little ridiculous, but I was actually the Jim Carrey's The Riddler for Halloween one year as a kid, and
that's cool.
I don't remember dressing up. I don't remember anything but being in the shower later that night and rinsing the orange hair dye out of my hair, like the spray hair dye that my parents did for me. And I've always thought that like that would be a cool scene if you were going to make like a serious Riddler and like make him like a deranged person. Like watching that would be like a very cinematic kind of creepy. I don't know. I've always thought that was like a very strange visual that you could have in a movie.
We're getting a darker and stranger just really messed up Riddler in the Batman movie that's coming out from Matt Reeves next year. That's the one with Robert Pattinson playing Batman.
I'm so excited for that movie, by the way, because I was saying, you can go back and listen to the show. I don't know what episode it was. I was saying Robert Pattinson, and this was before the movie had announced they were even casting it. Like it was like the Matt Reeves Batman movie. No one is George Clooney, or not George Clooney. Is Ben Affleck coming back as it was, and I was going Robert Pattinson. When you look at that dude, especially if he gets jacked, if you look at that dude in a suit, that guy looks like an eccentric millionaire, billionaire, whatever. He is a phenomenal actor. If you only know Robert Pattinson from the Twilight movies, you are doing yourself a disservice. This guy is literally one of the best talents in Hollywood right now, and he gets no respect for it. It drives me insane. It's because those damn Twilight movies were so popular. That's the only reason he's not a renowned actor, is because of those damn Twilight movies.
You're right.
He's so talented, man.
He looks from the leaked images that people have shown of him out on the street wearing like the iconic Bruce Wayne like trench coat, like the long suit jacket. He looks like he ripped right out of the pages.
It's perfect. He's perfect casting for both sides, I think. Because I think when you go to cast a Batman, and I'm talking a little out of turn here, but you kind of have to cast dual roles. You have to cast someone who's believable in a boardroom, and you have to cast someone who's believable as a dude who would dress up in a bat costume and beat the shit out of people. And he's both.
Someone's got to be that fucked up in the head for you to be able to have as both a playboy billionaire and who beats people to a bloody pulp.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Back to your Schumacher comment. There's a movement online trying to, it's again stealing from the release the Snyder Cut movement, but they're trying to release the Schumacher cut. There's apparently a much longer, grittier, darker version of that movie that people want to see out on the out in the theaters. I don't know if you heard anything about that.
I've heard a little bit because I've heard that he passed away recently, right?
I think so.
I feel like I remember hearing that he passed away, and I remember towards the, well, we will get to Star Wars, I promise. I remember hearing when right before he passed away, there's a comedian I like named Dana Gould. Do you know who Dana Gould is?
I do.
Okay, I love Dana Gould. He's one of the few comics that I didn't work with that I wish I had. I love him. He is one of he's what kept the Simpsons going for a very long time. Anyway, I digress. He was talking about how he went on his podcast. Again, I don't know what episode it was. I've listened to every single episode he's ever done. I love his podcast. It's fantastic. But he was talking about how much he loves Batman and how he was talking one night. He went to this like dinner and he ended up meeting Joel Schumacher. And he was like, that's the guy that ruined Batman. Like, you know, kind of like being joking, but not really. Because you're not going to, you know, you'll say it to a person in joking and they kind of know what the intent is, you know. But he was like, the guys were telling me like, you got to talk to him. He's such a nice guy. Like he's like, I don't want to talk to that guy. He ruined Batman. Like I don't want to talk, like being silly. But he talked to him. He goes, he was one of the nicest people he's ever met, and like they literally changed the movie because McDonald's had agreed to make Happy Meal toys.
What?
And I swear to God, you can look this up. This is a real interview. And like McDonald's was involved with this because it had become such a hit from the first movie that they were like, we gotta change it. And I feel like he came in late in the game. I don't remember the exact details, but he was talking about like they changed the tone of the film because they wanted to sell toys. And that is the issue I had in the last episode or two ago, whatever it was, with Evan, when he was talking about like people who are making the movie should adapt things to toys. And I'm like, this is a reason why you shouldn't do that, because you're going to sacrifice art for merchandise. And that's ridiculous. And that conversation stemmed because he was talking about how much he didn't like the Leia lightsaber because it was like something you had to change and it makes the look of it go wrong. And I was like, well, that's just a toy, man. Like the image of that in the movie still is what it is. And it's perfect because of the way that it looks and design. And that's a whole conversation we had in another episode. But like,
it was a spirited debate.
It was, dude, I'm a creative person, and listening to someone like try to argue that like Disney's right when it comes to, like, I love Disney in the sense that I love the products that they make ultimately, but a lot of their business decisions I do not like at all. And I've been involved with a lot of those, not business, like I haven't been in the boardrooms, but like I've seen the thought process of why they do things, and it drives me insane. And I think they're wrong. I think they're wrong 85% of the time. That's another conversation for another day. But I thought about the Joel Schumacher thing in that argument, which is why I brought this up to you now, because it was like, it's one of those things where it's like, you can't do that. You have to have you hired a person for a job to be a creative leader on a film. You have to let that person follow through with what they said they were going to deliver. Plus,
thank you.
And this is the thing I have issue with Disney too, is they bought Fox, which has all of these like franchises potentially, like Alien. You know Disney's not going to put out an R-rated Alien film.
No.
Like, but they are doing, I will say this, they are doing amazing work in the Alien comic by Marvel. If you haven't checked it out, go read it. It's fantastic.
Really? I'm going to have to.
It's good.
I'm going to have to.
It's good,
okay,
dude. I've got issues 1, 2, and I think I have a subscription, so I think 3's come out. I just haven't bought it yet. But it's good, dude. Like, it's really, really good. So I will give them that credit. But it's really kind of weird that like it's a Fox property that is owned by Disney that they sent to make a comic book that is by Marvel, who is also owned by Disney. It's a weird, like, incestuous relationship, but it works. And, you know, there's certain things like that kind of like, but like the fact that there will never be another R-rated Alien film breaks my heart a little bit. I'll be honest with you, because Alien, I think, is the best sci-fi horror movie ever made.
It's kind of like, are we ever going to get another R-rated Deadpool movie?
No, never again. You'll never see it.
No.
I think that could work though in the MCU, like having him be like bleeped out every time he tries to talk, and like it would have been better if Captain America had been around. Like language, I think it could have been kind of funny. Like it could have been a really funny like thing. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, they own Fox now. They could have dug up Hugh Jackman and have him reprise the role as Wolverine with Deadpool and
the greatest F-bomb in the history of film. Yes, I love it. All right, man. Let's talk some Star Wars stuff, okay?
Yes.
So, what was your hot take again? What was your hot take?
Zack Snyder, doing a Star Wars flick, and I kind of mentioned my other hot take of The Last Jedi being the best.
Gotcha.
Star Wars. Really, and I snuck another hot take in there with Disney being a good thing for Star Wars overall, where I know a lot of people say it's wrong.
No, see, here's the thing. I agree with you. I think that Disney is a good thing for Star Wars because there was a thing with Star Wars, especially if you've watched the stuff on Disney Plus, like Caravan of Courage and the Ewok show. There was a thing with Lucas, and I don't know what it was, but there was a thing where it was like Star Wars is silly. And I think he kind of got away from that with the prequels, even though they were silly too, but in a different way. Like they were just kind of written silly. But the animated shows were just like pathetically written and just bad. Like, there's a difference between silly and bad. And I think that one thing they really, really did very well, which I was actually surprised by, because if you look at like Disney, especially Disney's Hollywood Studios, when they were doing like Star Wars weekends, they would have like, Jedi Mickey, Darth Goofy, and I thought they were really going to lean into that. And I remember like right when Disney bought Lucasfilm, there was a leaked, quote unquote, leaked image of Pixar doing an X-Wing film in the vein of Cars. And you can look this up. This image exists. It was fake, but like I thought they were going to lean into that kind of stuff. And I gotta say, the way that Disney has taken, I gotta give credit where credit's due. The way Disney has taken Star Wars and made it serious and made it like that stuff doesn't exist, that should be admired. I mean, they really took away the silly aspect of like Disney Star Wars relationship. And I thought they would lean into it and be even more ridiculous now that they own it, because they don't have any, anything stopping them from making a, Leia mini plush. But I think they did a really good job. Did you ever get to go to a Star Wars weekends?
I did not, unfortunately.
I didn't either, man. God.
Yeah. But I've heard just glorious things about them sometimes, and I've heard other people's accounts of them not being so great.
Yeah, it's mixed, right? Like you get this like, it was awesome, but it was also really cheesy kind of thing.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, I know I would have loved it just being there in the moment, regardless of what was actually happening. Vader and Padme could have been twerking and grinding on each other, and I probably would have been fine with it. So, let's be completely honest there.
Oh, man. I just remember a video of them standing on like the ticket booths of Hollywood Studios, and that All American Rejects song "Move Along" playing, and the stormtroopers like singing along to "Move Along, Move Along," and it made me angry.
It makes me angry just thinking about it, but laughing at it at the same time.
Homework: go look up that video when you're done with this.
I'm going to.
Right.
I've got. Yeah.
Let's move in. Oh no, go ahead, dude. It's not that kind of show. It's not that serious. You know this.
Oh no, I was just laughing and saying I had homework with that Alien comic, and I've got homework to go look up that video. So
yeah, that Alien comic's sick. Especially that first issue. They kind of set up a lot of stuff, and you're like, oh, this is going to get interesting. It's good. It's really, really good. All right, let's talk about some Star Wars news. So before we get into the first topic here, I would like to ask you a question. I honestly do not know the answer to this. Sometimes I ask questions I know the answer to. I don't know this answer. How many Star Wars books have you read or listened to on audiobook?
Total, about one.
Oh my God. Which book was it?
It was, Black Spire.
Black Spire by Delilah S. Dawson?
Yes.
That's a good book to read, especially if you're coming to Disney World or Disneyland. Okay, so I'm a big Star Wars book guy. I like the books. Yes. I've fallen off a little bit because, well, this is not true. I've been kind of trying to read the Thrawn book, but I've been so busy over the past few months. I legitimately have not had a chance to sit down and read a book in probably 2 months.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
For you, that's pretty big.
It's wild. Things are changing around here, but it's for the better. It's for the better.
Yes, sir.
But I haven't had a chance. I'm debating now. Like I like physical books. I have a bookshelf. I have 2 bookshelves in the garage, soon to be 3, full of books, and I love holding physical stuff. I like the feel of a book. I like this way it smells. I know it's weird, but I like having a book. I like having it in my hands. I can take it with me. I can read it. But there's something to be said about audiobooks. It kind of sounds like you're listening to a movie. You can kind of listen to it on the go. You can throw headphones in while you're doing whatever you're doing. So I'm debating on, with these next few books, doing the audio versions, because I just want to be able to chow through them as quick as I can. And I found about this today. I had no idea this was coming out. I had no idea. And it's one of my, I've talked about this at nauseum on the show. One of my favorite book series is the Queen's Blank series of books from E.K. Johnston. These books are focused on Padme, and I love Padme. I think she's an underrepresented character in the Star Wars franchise, and she's pretty friggin' important to the entire thing. And I've read both books, and the only issue I have with those books is they came out backwards. Like, the first one came out, and then the second book was a prequel to the first one.
Really?
And and as far as I know, they didn't really set it up that way. Like the sequel's coming out and it's a prequel. Or I just didn't pay attention because I don't like spoilers. So it could have been one of those two. But I feel like you kind of know. Like, I knew when Alphabet Squadron was coming out that the sequel, Shadows Fall or whatever it was called, was a sequel to the book. It wasn't a prequel to it. So I'm reading the first Queen. It's Queen Shadow and Queen something. I forget the name of them.
Queen's Peril.
Queen's Peril. Perfect. Which I forget which one came first. But the book that came out first, I was reading and I was like, wait a second, we already know what happened to this character. And I went back to the book and I looked it up and I was like, oh, it's a prequel, which doesn't make any sense. But to be fair, that's how Star Wars was created, right? You get 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. So, there's kind of a precedent for it. But the new one is coming out called Queen's Hope. And they released the final book cover for it, which I'm in love with because it shows her on the front and it's beautiful. And I'm just curious where this takes place. And I did not read the excerpt because I don't like spoilers on any level. I don't even want to know where this takes place. I'm assuming it's the last of the 3. I'm hoping it takes place right. Like, I would love nothing more than like getting into her brain when she finds out that Anakin is turning into Darth Vader and this whole thing is going south. I would love that in this book because they do such a good job of getting into her head. And the other 2 books, I really, really, really want to see this. So, are you interested in this book at all?
Yes, because it's got everything to do with Padme. Very much based on what you just told me in the past 5 minutes, and what your just overall review on these books before. Padme is a character that I've always wanted to dive more into because here's another Star Wars hot take. I like the Anakin and Padme relationship more than I do the Han Solo Leia relationship. And a lot of that has to do with the Clone Wars, and a lot of that has to do with I'm such an Anakin fan, and I put Episode 3 a little bit higher than everybody else. But I digress.
You're a Fanakin? Sorry, I don't know. I can't remember. I just now. I apologize.
You just call me a Stanikin? Holy crap!
Stanikin?
A Stanikin.
You're a Stanikin?
I'm a Stanikin. I'm a Stanikin.
You're a Stanikin.
I'll take it. I'm the show's resident Stanikin. I can do that.
I'll allow it. All
right. I mean, Evan's got Ben and Kylo over there, so.
Yeah, I don't know who I am. Like, he's such a Kylo guy. Which is so funny because he did not like Kylo Ren at all at first. He didn't
really.
He hated The Force Awakens first 2 or 3 times he saw it.
What?
Evan,
really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll talk about it. Yeah, man.
Okay.
He's Evan's an interesting guy. Like, he's one of my dearest friends on the planet. But I feel like you have to explain things and kind of talk him into things sometimes, because I feel like he's just like. It's almost like he doesn't want to upset anybody. And so instead of just liking something, he'd rather just be like, yeah, it's what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas I came out of The Last Jedi going, that's the greatest Star Wars movie ever. He was like, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, he's the it's okay kind of guy where I'm like, yes, let's do this. And, it takes both types, right? Like, there's got to be more than one person on the planet. And thank God they're not all me, because that would just be a nightmare. But
let me give a quick shout out to Evan. Can I real quick?
Please,
because and holy crap, it's so funny that I'm starting this shout out to Evan because my cat Jack literally just walked into the office where I'm doing the podcast. Jack
He
is
knows.
the cat. This is kind of creeping me the fuck out right now. So Evan made mention of it on the last show, and I wanted to just reiterate and thank you, Evan, for it. And it's rough from Taylor for being able to, take on Jack. We are moving out to Florida, as Brad has mentioned, in 40-ish days in the first week of August, and we obviously have to downsize from our house out in Phoenix to an apartment, and we have a dog, so can't bring the cat along. But Evan has been so gracious to welcome Jack into his home, so I thank you, sir, again, so very much for that, and I appreciate that. So that's my shout out to Sir Evan.
He's the best, man. I really do love Evan. He's a really, really good dude. And I hope he'll laugh when he hears me say this, because he knows he's my ride or die. I love him. So he knows I'm just being silly. But
I know it, yeah.
He's a really kind soul, man. He really, really is. But yeah, man, I back to the book. I'm excited for this book, man. Like, I'm in the midst of the High Republic right now, as is Evan, and but this one's got me excited because I literally didn't even I almost don't even pay attention to books, because it's like it's almost like a movie for me now. Like, when I see a book is coming out, I'm like, the only reason I even watch the trailers for the movies is because I was at Celebration. And how can you not watch the trailer when you're at freaking Celebration and you're in the room where it's happening? You can't not watch it. So then you're already invested. And then at that point, we're doing a podcast, and it's like the thing to talk about what you think is going to happen in the movie. And so that's the only reason I really watched the trailers at all. To begin with, I don't watch movie trailers. Like, if I see something come on, like if I'm watching YouTube and I'm like, oh, that looks interesting, I'll go, what was the name of that? I don't want to watch this. I'll turn it. I'll mute it. I'll run out of the room. I'm that kind of guy. Like, I didn't watch the Force Awakens trailers until like well after they came out, because I remember I was sitting with my mom in Storybook Circus at Fantasyland at Magic Kingdom, and it was the day the trailer came out for The Force Awakens, the final trailer. Like, this was it. The movie's coming out in like a few weeks or whatever it was. And I remember I was like, I need you to watch this and tell me if it ruins anything. Because if it ruins anything, I don't want to watch it. And I made her watch it, and she's like, I don't think it ruins anything. And I was like, all right, well, let my dad watch it and see if he thinks it ruins anything. And he's like, no, you'll be good. It doesn't ruin anything. So I watched it then, and from then on, I was like, okay. And I think I even did that with the first full trailer of The Last Jedi, because there's like a video that kind of went like semi-viral with me, Josh, and I think, was it Evan or Alex? I can't remember who it was in the video. It had to have been Alex. Me, Josh, and Alex? I don't remember who it was in the video, but it was me and Josh and someone else. I think it was Alex watching. It's got like 200,000 views on YouTube of me, him. Damn. Yeah, of me, him, and I think it was Alex watching. All right, see, now I got to find out who it was. Maybe it was just me and Josh watching the trailer for The Last Jedi, and it was like, I think I made Holly watch it first, because I was like, I don't want to see this. Like, if this, if it shows Luke and Rey in any capacity, like, I don't want to see that. Like, I want to see that for the first time on the big screen. I don't want that moment that has been built up over 2 years to be ruined by a trailer in between, a football game on ABC. You know what I mean? Like, I just didn't. Can you tell I'm stalling to try to like find who this was? I don't.
A little bit, but isn't it so much sweeter to go into a movie like that? Isn't it so much just not even just a movie, a TV show, a book, a miniseries? You name it. If you go into it literally with no expectations, I think you're going to come out of it a much happier person.
I know. I've watched movies before where I literally didn't know a single thing about it. I'm like, that's a great movie. It's because there's no like, oh, this is a horror movie, so this is what's going to happen. This is a, whatever type of movie. This is how this is going to go down. It was legitimately like just a full-on surprise. So, yeah, I think there is something to be said about that, because it just hits in a different way. Like, when even if you don't know the genre, like, you sit down and you watch it and you're like, that's the best movie ever. And then you see it's like on Rotten Tomatoes, like a 12, and you're like, oh, I suck.
Right.
I'm trying to find this here. Give me 2 more seconds. I'll find it, because it's 2 years ago now on YouTube. Scrolling through. Come on.
You're good.
Come on, I
You're
want to see
good.
this.
I'm curious. I've never seen the video, and now I need to know who's in the goddamn video with you, Brett.
I'll send it to you once I find it. I'll send you a link.
Okay.
Because
that sounds good.
It's got to be.
But you were talking about High Republic.
I lied. It wasn't the Last Jedi trailer. It was the Rise of Skywalker trailer. So the Last Jedi one was just me and Josh. So let me see if I can find. It's been 2 years since Rise of Skywalker. 1 year, 2 year.
2019.
2019. So 2 years in this. Okay, so it was me, Josh, and Evan, and it has 179,000 views.
Damn, dude.
So I'll send you that. But yeah, so okay, it was Evan. I thought it was Evan. I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense because I didn't know him then. But okay, that was it. All right, so I wanted to find that out, but it was Rise of Skywalker, not Last Jedi. But I do remember having Holly. It was crazy. Now it's making sense. This is in our old apartment. It was me and Josh, and I made Holly watch it before because I was like, I don't want to watch this if it's not if it's going to ruin everything.
Makes sense. I mean, I remember specifically for episode 9, I stayed away from like TV spots. I stayed away from any articles.
Yep.
I stayed away from anything other than was major like trailers.
TV spots ruin everything. I watched the TV spots for The Last Jedi after I saw the movie, and there's a TV spot where she takes Kylo Ren's lightsaber in the Snoke's throne room scene.
Oh, no, thank you.
That's a TV spot, dude.
That would have pissed me off.
Dude, if I'd have saw that, I would have been livid.
Yeah.
That's insane. Why would you show that?
Was it at least a TV spot like released after the movie was out in theaters?
No, dude, it was before. And I quit watching all of it. You can go back and listen to the lead up of these movies when they come out because I did them like every week religiously for a while. Those movies were coming out because I wanted to be like a part of the conversation. And I remember being like, I'm not watching anything. I went back and watched it. I was like, I cannot believe they showed that. Like, that's insane. Like, it doesn't ruin anything in the context of the film, but like the implications of her taking Kylo Ren's lightsaber could mean anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely could. And I'm sure I'm thinking that 5 different ways and probably freaked out with the real, version of it. But
yeah, I mean, it's wild, man. Like, that's such a weird thing to show. All right, let's move on to the next topic here. We can talk a little bit. Are you caught up on Bad Batch?
I am caught up on Bad Batch, yes, sir.
That's one of the ones I knew the answer to, but I acted like I didn't. My acting skills are okay. So the last episode 8, I don't know the title of it. So I want to know what you think about the Bad Batch overall, and then let's talk about episode 8 a little bit. We don't need to get too deep because, Okay. But I would like to talk a little bit about it because I want to pick your brain on it.
Yeah, the Bad Batch. So to me, it's Clone Wars Season 8, right?
100%.
What it is with a different group of core characters. I loved Clone Wars Season 7 specifically for the final 4 episodes. So that really wrapped it up for me in a nice little package. And if the Clone Wars were to never give us anything else outside of those last 4 episodes, I'd be a happy camper. But alas, here we are with the Bad Batch. But I'm taking it for what it's worth. And, I'm not going to miss an episode, but I'll criticize it. Our first episode, we got, Caleb Dune, Kanan Jarrus on, as a cameo. Didn't expect that. Got to see how his Jedi Master, bit the bait there. And eventually how he got away, which was pretty cool. So great. Something happened in the first episode. And then...
Pause real quick. I'm going to talk about this for a second. This was one of the most overpromise, underdeliver episode, like things in Star Wars ever. Like, It started off where I was like, oh, I'm going to love this show. And then it just took a turn, which we'll get to. But, like, I feel like they went way out of their way to grab people. Like, you didn't have to do that. My only issue with this first episode, I said it in one of the episodes, he sounds like a 45-year-old man, and he's supposed to be like 15. That was that was the only thing I was like, okay, that definitely is, I think they did that, though, so that way for a fact who that is, if you don't already know who Caleb Dune is.
Yeah.
So,
it was like, oh, we know who he is now.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that it's fine, that's what it is. But, like, for sure, that was a bad. It was a good and bad decision because it sounded 50 when he started talking. But go ahead. Sorry. I just wanted that was one of the things for me. It was like one of I'm notoriously hard on this show. I have been from before it even came out because I knew this was going to be like this. But it just was like when I first watched it, I was like, the first 15 minutes of that is some of the best Star Wars content I've ever seen. It's so good. And then it falls so far from what they set up in like the first 2 episodes. I'm like, well, I don't even care anymore. Like, I don't care about this. And then they redeem themselves with episode 7 and 8, but we'll get to that in a second. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. And they gave us a little bit of Saw Gerrera, and it could have been good. It could have been bad. I like the mysterious nature of his character, but it sounds like we're going to get more of him. And I know we're going to get into that a little bit later, but and then nothing happened in the Bad Batch. There were filler episodes, and this was kind of the thing that I was, I think, deep down optimistically telling myself that the Bad Batch wouldn't do. It wouldn't follow suit and make these filler episodes that the Clone Wars is so well known for. But here we are. But then, boom, just like you said, episode 7 and 8, shit finally happened. So now it's got me, it's almost just as fully invested, if not more, when when it was just coming out and it just released on May 4th. So I'm paying attention, and I'm really, really hoping and praying that we don't go for another dip here with episode 9 and beyond.
I think with what they set up in episode 8, and by the way, this is a complete spoiler discussion. So if you haven't seen episode 8 and you want to be, surprised when you watch it, don't listen to this going forward for the next 10 minutes or so. We'll try to keep it to that. We'll try to keep it for about 10 minutes here. But so 3, 2, 1. We can talk spoiler about every episode of Bad Batch right now. We'll talk about episode 7 first, so that way if people are trying to frantically get to their speaker, they can turn it off. But episode 7 with Wrecker finally succumbing to his inhibitor chip. It was great, and I thought that would kind of linger on a little bit. I'm glad it didn't, but I could see them pushing that for another few episodes. I'm really, really glad they didn't, because it was starting to get okay, either it's going to work or it doesn't. And him freaking out was really, really well done. And I think the resolution between him and Omega was really, really good. And I knew it was going to go really bad when he made Omega's own little room in the ship. This is going to go bad when this goes bad, and it went bad. But it could have been way worse, and I actually thought they kind of pulled back a little bit. I would have liked to seen it be a little more aggressive. The animation tends to do dark really, really well. I think it's because it's a cartoon. You can kind of forgive it a little bit. The same way South Park can say whatever they want, because those cartoons are so ridiculously cartoonish that you don't really even equate what they're saying as real. I feel like Star Wars can get away with a little more with the animation being dark because it's animation. But episode 8, not to mention the tie to Jedi Fallen Order with Braca. I mean, that was fantastic.
Yes. I was very much eyes glued to the screen the moment I knew they landed on Braca, and they mentioned the Scrappers Guild. I was like, where is he? Where you at, Cal?
I know. I remember I messaged you. I was like, wait a second. Is this the same time period? Is this the same? Because here's the thing with me. A lot of Star Wars stuff, if I don't revisit it, I kind of enjoy it in the moment. I anticipate it. I go, this was awesome. And then I just don't remember it. It's just how my brain works. I'll retain certain things, and there's certain things I can, I remembered Braca. There's certain things I'll remember, but at large, there's so much going on in those games, and it's so hard to keep everything straight. Plus everything that's going on in my real life, I can't remember every little thing of every little. That's just not, it's just not feasible for me to remember everything. And when you do, I'm kind of this guy doesn't have a lot going on. It's the game was so good, minus the gameplay. I thought the gameplay was shitty Zelda. It was my favorite video game of all time, other than Star Fox 64, is Zelda Ocarina of Time. And the game kind of reminded me of that. There was puzzles and... Did you play Fallen Order?
Oh God, yeah.
Okay, you did. Okay. So I don't know if you agree with me or disagree with me. You know, we can talk about it, but the puzzles and stuff seemed a little unnecessary for Star Wars. I would have just kind of liked a hack and slash game with a really, really good story.
Yeah, yeah, I was okay with the puzzles because I'm a big Tomb Raider or like the OG Tomb Raider games fan. So it reminded me a lot of that. I'm really big into the Metal Gear Solid franchise too, so I'm big on the stealthy, sleuthy kind of trying to figure shit out. So that part I did enjoy, but to your point about the gameplay, my biggest gripe with Fallen Order is like the lightsaber battles.
Dude, you are preaching to the choir on this one.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've talked about this on this show. There's a vine in the way, and you can't get through it unless you crawl under it, and then like you swipe the lightsaber, and then just makes a mark on the rock, and nothing happens. It is infuriating. It drove me insane.
This fucking laser sword's supposed to cut through, you know, anything but Beskar, for God's sake, and then you can't cut through this vine from like this random ass planet with these stupid frogs. I mean, get your shit together.
It drove me nuts, dude. That was my biggest gripe of it, was the mechanics of the lightsaber. It drove me insane. But, you know, I guess they have to do that because if your lightsaber can cut through anything, then you can just cut through any part of the level and not have to beat anything.
True.
But then shouldn't you also design a game around that if that's what you know you have? Like, shouldn't that have been incorporated to the game? Like, cut through this door to get to the next end? Like, that could have been a game mechanic that they just didn't do.
I mean, they kind of did. There were a couple of those vines that you had to cut like out of the way, and there were like a couple of cords that you can cut in that were in the way, but those were just convenient.
Yeah,
it was just convenient that you could cut through those.
I liked all the. Then you went to Kashyyyk in that game, right? Did I make
that
up?
Okay.
Okay.
You run into Tarfur too.
That's right. Yeah.
Isn't that where Saw Gerrera's at?
I was gonna say Saw Gerrera's in that too. Yeah. Yeah, Saul's in that too. I think Saw Gerrera is going to play a big part. We'll get to this later. And I also think you're going to see Enfys Nest again. I don't think she's done. I think Enfys Nest is going to be a pretty big presence in the Andor show. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Little teaser. Get back to Bad Batch here. Episode 8, ending the way it ended, and them revealing, and also me and Evan I talked to Evan today for like 20 minutes. Before he went to work, and we were talking about the Bad Batch. We'll talk more about it when he's here again, but the way that they can, like, for whatever reason with the animated shows lately, they can go dark, but they can never go full on dark. Like our example is always in Resistance. Did you watch the Resistance show?
No.
It's worth going back and rewatching. There's some cool stuff in there. You know, there's some really cool characters. There's so cool characters like Commander Pyre, who's awesome. So, like,
all right.
So think Captain Phasma, but gold-plated stormtrooper.
Okay.
There's cool characters. There's individual things that are really cool. But there's a scene in there. I'm going to ruin it for you, and sorry, but it's just
I'll go for it. Yeah.
So there's a scene at the I think it's the end of season 1, and he's talking to his dad on Hosnian Prime. And as he's talking to him, they find out, and I could be a little off on the details. It's been a while since I've seen it. But as he's talking to his dad, they find out that the First Order is destroying the Hosnian system from The Force Awakens. And then it's revealed, and that's like a cliffhanger of season 1. And then it's revealed in season 2 that his parents survived and got off the planet. So it's like this like cool, like, oh my God, you could have done this cool thing with this character, and then you chickened out the last second. That's what they did with Cad Bane and Hunter in episode 8. They had Cad Bane shoot him in the chest, and then you see at the end of the episode that Hunter's fine. And that was annoying. I don't want Hunter to die. He's the main character of the show. But when you have him get shot in the chest by Cad Bane and he survives, that's really frustrating.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, where are the consequences, right? Where are, I mean, yeah, obviously the big consequences, he stole Omega. And I want to hear your theory a little bit more expanded on who you think Omega is, talking about the Bad Batch. But where are the consequences outside? He was shot in the chest. And is it bad that I kind of just anticipated him to be okay?
No, because I did too. I was like, oh my God, they killed him. I'm like, no, wait, he's the main character and they didn't kill him.
Yeah. And
which is annoying
I mean,
because like Star Wars has no problem killing off people, and that's my problem. It's like, dude, you've been killing off people from the jump. You killed off. If you think about Obi-Wan in the original trilogy, the fact that they killed that character off, which I want to talk about on an episode with you and Evan here, because it doesn't make any sense that he just disappears. Like, there's no precedent for that in any Star Wars movie ever.
You're right.
There's no precedent for it whatsoever, and everyone just accepts it, and no one talks about it. But I thought about this the other day. There's no precedent for him just disappearing when Darth Vader cuts him. It doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense. But like they kill off major characters all the time. Why are they all of a sudden scared to do it now? Is it because it's a kids show? Is that the reason?
Exactly.
But in Rebels and Clone Wars, they kill off characters all the time.
Are they really dead in Rebels, or are they going living with space whales?
Oh God! Don't bring up space whales on this show. You're better than this, Tom. You're better than this.
It was a joke. That's right.
Ezra's coming back in the Ahsoka show. I called it now. Yeah, man. I don't know. We all know who's going to be okay, but like it just rubs me the wrong way. Like it's the same thing with Chewie in the Rise of Skywalker. Like it would have really sucked if they killed Chewie, but there would have been consequence to that moment. Versus everything's okay in the end. Like no, everything can be okay ultimately at the end, but there needs to be consequences along the way to make this journey worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Which is why The Last Jedi is so fucking brilliant to end. Every episode just devolves into me defending The Last Jedi. That's why that movie's so brilliant, because at the end, Leia says herself, we sent on a beacon, my own personal beacon, and no one responded. Like, that's so somber. And you're like, okay, well, what now? And like, there's another movie coming. Yeah. You have to see, the Emperor's back. It makes no sense. The Emperor's back. But but like that's why The Last Jedi is so great, is because there are consequences. There's consequences to Luke coming back. Everything has a consequence. Poe not believing in what Holdo was doing has a consequence. And I always hear this argument like, why didn't you just tell him? Well, if you got demoted, then you're not privy to certain information. If you get demoted at work, you're not going to get the same email as you used to get. Like, it's just how it goes. Like, you know, if you're at a certain level, you're at a certain level. And if you're not, you're not. Like, I don't understand how people don't understand that. And you can not like Holdo or not. I think that Laura Dern's character was fantastic in the movie for what she was portraying. It's a far cry from what we got in the book, Leia, Princess of Alderaan, which is one of my favorite Star Wars books of all time. That'll be on another Top 10 episode coming soon. But I think that movie is just so brilliant because it just sets up, it just carries from what JJ started, literally picks up on a cliffhanger and just goes, oh, you thought this was going to go this way? Nope. Consequences. Rey, turning dark. Like, her turning dark, it just gets overlooked so much. I don't know why. It's such a major plot point of The Last Jedi that every time she taps into the Force, she goes dark.
Yeah.
No one ever addresses it. No one ever talks about it, but it's real. Kylo Ren is the consequence of Luke, making that mistake that he made, even for a split second. Consequence, right? Poe not trusting Emmeline Holdo. Consequence. He had to sneak on a Snoke ship. He got captured. Finn believing Poe. Consequence. Leia believing that hope still existed in the galaxy at that point. Consequence. And then it kind of all falls apart. That's why that movie is so brilliant, because everything that they set up had consequences. And that's why the storytelling is so good. And that's why people don't like it, is because it's not that they don't like it. Most people like it. It's got a positive Rotten Tomato score, which I find hilarious. Everyone talks about how much everyone hates it, but it's got like a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. Whatever. But not that that's like a gold standard or anything, but like it shows that people with brains who are critics can critically break down a film like Star Wars and still get a 92%. When you really break it down, that's why that movie's so brilliant. So that's why this episode kind of bugged me, was because it was like, you set up this character being the main character, and he got shot by Cad Bane, for Christ's sake, and then you just couldn't go through with it. Like, how cool would it have been if he actually died, and like Tech has to run the gamut? You know what I mean? Especially after what we saw in season 7 of the Clone Wars with Tech. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Not
that
not
would
Tech.
be
What's the other guy's name? Not Tech.
Echo.
Echo. Yes. If Echo had to run the show, like how good would that have been? Because that would tie into the season 7 of the Clone Wars.
He's a reg. Yeah, he's a reg for God's sake. So we'd have a reg who's kind of like an adopted member of the Bad Batch, essentially running the show with Hunter dead. I mean, obviously Hunter would eventually come back in some facet, but keep him dead for a stretch of 10 episodes. I mean, you've got 47 more to go in this season. Shit.
Yeah. This is the argument for 6-episode seasons, and I was kind of against it because I was like, I want to see a little bit more. But there's something to 6 episodes where you might get a filler. Like I think most of Mandalorian season 1 was kind of filler, just to see if people attach themselves to the characters of the show. And I think when they saw, because like the one thing you don't want to do is put all your eggs in a basket and then have that basket be ignored by everybody, right? Like who knew if Disney Plus was going to be as big as it was? I mean, you could kind of guess it would be popular, but I mean, Mandalorian, like especially that first season, it was like a cultural phenomenon, dude. I mean, everybody you couldn't go on the internet without seeing a Baby Yoda meme.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I don't think people even realize how big that was for like the zeitgeist of people.
Oh,
it was huge.
Spoiler alert! But something from The Mandalorian landed on my top 10 list that we're doing. So.
Really?
Yeah.
I wish something from Mandalorian would have landed in my top 10, and there actually is one that could have. You know what? I'm actually going to change one of them because now that you said that, I don't know what yours is, but
okay.
I kind of have a 2-parter for one, and I'm going to go through and change it once I stop talking here in a second, which doesn't seem to happen a lot on this show. But yeah, man. So Bad Batch is going in a good direction. We'll end the spoiler discussion here on for people who are listening. I'll put it in the show notes. People who are listening to this audio wise, we'll stop talking about it. But I did want to talk a little bit about Omega because I feel like people aren't like not paying attention, but I feel like people don't grasp what Omega is.
Mm-hmm.
Omega is, for all intents and purposes, Boba Fett's only sibling.
Yes. Untouched clone.
Clone from Jango, right? It's the only one other than him, because technically speaking, all the clones are his brothers, right? Because it doesn't make sense that she's a girl, but I'll let that be. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of that because it doesn't matter. It's a show, but I don't think that's how cloning works. I'm also not a scientist, so I don't know. Is that how can something be biologically the same? This is a legitimate question. Biologically the same, but be a different sex?
I'm a few credits shy of my biology degree, but I have no fucking idea.
But it doesn't seem like it. Does it? Like, am I off on this? Am I gonna get canceled now because of this? Because I'm saying this?
I don't know. It's my first show.
I don't know.
It's my first day.
I don't dislike Omega. Let's just put it that way. Like the character's fine. I think it's one of. There's only a few children. I think this is the third child ever in Star Wars. You had young Anakin, who was annoying as shit. You had the child who couldn't talk, so it couldn't be annoying. And then you have Omega. So I like the character, okay? I don't like. I see people who like love the character. I don't get that, but like the character's fine. But the character for the circumstances they have put around this character, it has to pan out into something, and I think that it's going to be Rey's mom.
Yeah, the more and more I hear you talk about that, the more and more I'm like holy crap, you're right.
I don't know, man. I feel like there has to, like, everything in Star Wars has a reason. Like baby Yoda, Grogu, there's a reason it's the race it is. And there's a bigger planet, the plan that they have set out for that character, and it's not just because it's a cute character. Because another thing I'll give Disney credit on, they could have very easily seen that show and been like, before the show comes out, here's a Baby Yoda plush, and they didn't do that until the first episode came out. I gotta give them credit. Nothing got leaked. Yeah. No one saw that coming. I remember when The Mandalorian was coming out, me and Alex were at Star Wars Celebration, and we saw the trailer on the show, in the arena where they showed it to all the Mando mercs that were there. I think we were like 2 seats away from the Mando mercs. Like, we were right in the middle of it. And I remember going, okay, well, 100% what he's hunting Luke Skywalker. Like, that's who he's looking for. Who else would all these, who else would the Mandalorian be looking for in the universe if it wasn't Luke Skywalker, the most important person in the galaxy?
Makes sense.
And then like when you're watching this, if you watch it without thinking about what Baby Yoda is or who he is, and they're like, he's 50 years old, that is perfect time from the end of Return of the Jedi for him to be around that age. And so I was like, well, yeah, for sure. If the bounty he's after is 50, it's definitely Luke. And then at the end of the first episode, you see, him open the pram, and it's the child. And I remember watching that, and I watched it 3 times because I was like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? Like, you ever have that, you ever doubt that when you were watching them? You're like, what am I looking at? And I remember going like, what is this? And I was like, and I remember watching it with Alex or Evan, and I was like, okay, well, this is completely changed what I thought the show was going to be, and now I'm invested. Because I was like, I thought for sure, like, there was no doubt in my mind that he was hunting Luke Skywalker. No doubt. And then you get to that episode, and you're like, that's not Luke. What is this? Who is this kid? So they have some sort of plan for the child, too. And I don't think it's going to end well for him, to be perfectly honest with you. And everyone talks about season 2 being like this super sweet ending with Luke. And it's really, really interesting. And it's really, really good. But we all know how that ends. So I don't think it's going to be good.
Y'all forget where Grogu's going to.
He's going to where he's going to the end. That's where he's going. Now, we can talk about this, and I know Evan would like to talk about this because it's Kylo, and there's a whole discrepancy of what is said in the movies and then what is said in comic books they have set up, which are canon. So we'll save that discussion for him because I think that would be a really good episode. Like, what is going to happen to Grogu? I think it'd be a fun thing to talk about when we're all here.
Yes,
but I just don't think it ends well for the little guy. But I think Omega. The point I was making was that you don't make a character like that that's that likable and that important and make them the history of the character like is the same as Boba and make that character be irrelevant to the story. There's got to be something there. So I think, and this is just an outside of left field thing, that it's going to become Rey. The only thing I see with that is because if you did that, then that means that Rey is half Palpatine, half Boba Fett. And I think people would have a big problem with that. But if you just didn't care and you were trying to make the most interesting character in Star Wars, Rey would then become the most interesting character in Star Wars. By far.
She absolutely would. It wouldn't be even a question. And I would fight anybody tooth and nail to say that they wouldn't be, because you're taking 2 incredibly important characters. I mean, both recently, thanks to The Mandalorian and his own show that's coming out, but that would be so stupid. I mean, I think the more and more I sit on this, shit, I'm going to go to Vegas and make a bet on that Omega's going to be Rey's mother. I'm that confident and that fired up thinking about it. But to your point earlier, specifically about what people think, or they're going to be pissed off if you make her a Fett and a Palpatine. They're pissed off at the Mary Sue to begin with, right? And I'm saying that sarcastically. I don't think Rey's a Mary Sue. I like the character a lot, but there are all these OG fans sitting in the ground with nacho cheese fueled rants online are already pissed off about Rey to begin with. So make her a Fett too. I welcome it.
I welcome it too. I feel like it would just be like, for me, when you break down what Star Wars is, it doesn't matter your background, and Anakin is proof of this because we don't really know his background past the Phantom Menace, right? Like we know that there is no father. And when I was a kid, I grew up super, 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 super religious. I went to private Christian school until I was in 6th grade. Okay. I then, when I graduated high school, went to school to become a youth pastor. Okay, I've had a very weird life. And in between that, I was a stand-up comic. I've had a very strange, and a cage fighter. I've had a very weird life, okay? But I remember watching that scene, The Phantom Menace, as a 10-year-old kid and being like, there is no father. And I remembered being like, okay, so the dad's just not there. And that can be interpreted that way because I interpreted that way as a kid. like Dad's just not around. But now they're kind of making it like he's the Immaculate Conception, you know, kind of thing with Star Wars. And I think it would be interesting if they like if they kind of come out and say that, like, I think something is going to happen with High Republic in this. I don't know how, because it's like 150 years before Shmi would even be alive. Mm-hmm. But I feel like they're going to have to explain this in some way. And okay. I just remember like seeing this, and so I think and what I mean is the greater point is that Star Wars is choices. It is about what you're set up to be, and then what you ultimately become. Like Luke, if you really look at Luke, especially Luke Skywalker, Leia's a little different because she was the queen of Alderaan, and she was destined to be on the throne, so it's a little different with her. But if you look at Luke and you look at his backstory, there's no reason that he becomes the greatest Jedi in the history of Star Wars, right? Like, he's a farm boy on Tatooine. They're moisture farmers. His dad was Space Hitler. Like, there's no reason that he should be as powerful, and he still stays pure. And that's why I think Star Wars is all about the choices. And if they make Rey half Boba Fett, half Palpatine, most of the Boba Fett clones were really good guys. Boba Fett, he saw his dad get decapitated, so there's some trauma there for sure. So he's not the greatest guy. He betrays Han, and there's the whole thing with Boba Fett in the original trilogy, right? But it would be more interesting to me that she overcomes those two genetic, not deficiencies, but like genetic, whatever. She overcomes her shortcomings. Perfect. She overcomes her genetic shortcomings and becomes Rey Skywalker. That's very interesting to me. And I kind of hope they go down that road with her, especially if Boba Fett's her mom. Like, that'd be so... Boba Fett's your mom. I think we found the title of the episode is Boba Fett, Rey's mom.
Boba Fett, Rey's mom. Yeah, it is what it is.
I'm all for it. All right, man. Let's talk about something else, because I could talk about this for a while. But
all right.
Do you think I'm insane for saying that? Like, I know you said you like the odds, but like, is it too out of left field, or do you think I'm onto something here?
There's nothing ever so far out of left field when it comes to Star Wars, because I made the joke to you the other day about her becoming Captain Phasma, and I was joking to see that happening.
I would love that. If she gets like abandoned by the Bad Batch on, I forget the name of the planet that she's from. The Phasma novel explores all that, but that'd be fascinating. The time doesn't really work out.
No,
it would if they could make it work where, like, they delayed her growth for X amount of years and then she became an adult. That'd be fascinating. I would love.
But like, if Fennec Shand is running around in the Bad Batch right now and she's on the Book of Boba Fett, she's supposed to be like 40,000 years old. So
she's like half android too. So who cares?
That's true. Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move on to the next topic here, because I could talk about that last topic for like we did for like 40 minutes. This is something interesting. This is something I've been pretty vocal about not needing, but the Loki showrunner Michael Waldron confirms that he is working on the Kevin Feige Star Wars movie. Like, didn't he just come out and say that there was nothing going on for a while, and then now all of a sudden he's making a movie? What's happening with this? Are they just like trying to get... Okay, here's the thing about this. For me, I want Kevin Feige involved with Marvel and nothing else. I don't need you coming over to Star Wars. Stay in your lane, because your lane is very well done. Your lane is fine. The movies are good. The sum is greater than its parts. Like, I don't think every individual Marvel movie is good, but everything kind of ties in and it makes sense. Thor: The Dark World is an abortion to film, but it's what it is. But you did the whole thing well. Shut up and stay over there. And I know that's kind of weird to say, especially for someone who just said they're creative and they appreciate creativity. But whatever, I'm staying with it. Like, it's not like you're in a flailing franchise like the DCEU. You're in Marvel Cinematic. I did that just to make you mad. You're in the Marvel Cinematic. You're in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just stop. Right? Am I off here? Am I off?
No. you're not off one bit. Feige, when I first read this news and first heard of it, I immediately yelled out and said, "No, you stay far away from my Star Wars MCU." I'm very critical of the MCU, but rightfully so. I love what they put out. I love Infinity War. I love Avengers outside of Age of Ultron, and I got problems with Endgame. But
Age of Ultron is my favorite Avengers movie.
What was that?
Age of Ultron is my favorite Avengers movie.
Really?
Yes.
I'm bored to tears most of the time when I watch Age of Ultron.
That movie is so great because the villain is so freaking creepy, and he was on the internet, and this is like a meme, but I've said this way before the meme. He was on the internet for about 30 seconds and was like, people need to go.
Yeah, it's true.
And he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong. No,
he's not wrong.
We're terrible.
He's not wrong. Like, most people suck. For real.
People equal shit.
Slipknot never said it better.
Yep.
It's that movie. That's why I like the movie, because there's nothing that he says in that movie where you're like, I disagree with that. You're watching the movie, you're like, oh, he's right. People suck. I love that movie. I feel like that one. I feel like even more than like not in the game, but like I think any other MCU movie doesn't have the stakes that movie does. The ending where they lift up the city is stupid, but Hawkeye is like, hey, none of this makes sense. I'm shooting robots with an arrow. None of this makes any sense. And I feel like that was such a great, I compartmentalize that whole scene as like the entire MCU. None of this makes any sense, but it's fine. Especially now with Loki. Jesus Christ. Loki does make sense, but
yeah.
But I feel like that was a good way to put it. Like, none of this is real. It's pretend. Who cares? But yeah, Ultron's I love that movie. I'll stand by Ultron. I feel like it's an underrated classic of the MCU. People, people like poo it, but I think it's top 5 MCU movies.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, for all the reasons you made, that's pretty good. But back to he is all MCU, and that's about it. Stay away from my Star Wars films, buddy. I don't want a Star Wars film comprised of us opening with this brand new villain who was wronged by Tony Stark somehow in the Star Wars universe. that eventually
that's so good.
That eventually goes on to do something. Then our heroes, Rey and everybody else, gets back involved. There's no consequences. There's a couple of jokes, and then the movie ends with a mid-credit scene that says so and so will be back. So I don't want that in Star Wars. I just don't.
I'm with you.
It works. I see you. It works so well, but nah.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100%. Like, so we know he's doing a film, right? If you had to pick in the timeline where he's doing this film, you don't have to tell me what it is, like what you want it to be. If you do, that's a plus. But High Republic, Age of Republic, Age of Rebellion, Age of Resistance. So High Republic, prequels, OG, sequels. Where do you want his film to line up? Like where would you see it going? Where if you were in charge of Lucasfilm, you'd go, Kevin Feige, here's where you're going to make a movie. It's in this time period. Where do you put him?
All right. If we're being forced into a Feige movie, it hurts even saying this, but give me and not because what I think this would turn into a buddy comedy. I think this would turn into a serious drama buddy comedy just because I'm assuming he's going to make the film like the MCU. But do it in the sequel era. Give us post episode 9. Show us what the General Poe and General Finn look like. Co-generals together for the rebellion, for the rebellion. And the reason why I say that could end up being like a buddy comedy is just because I don't trust him so much to show us what the world looks like. The two of them trying to figure out what life looks like, post, the galaxy supposedly being saved from the Emperor again. So does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. No, I get that 100%.
When I'm looking at it, but that's where I can see him fitting in the best.
See, I think you and me are on the same page. It's the same coin, just two different heads. Your tails, I'm heads. Your tails, I'm heads. Whatever. I see, because I think what you're saying is you don't want any consequences of his movie affecting anything else, right? You'd want to see something
Pretty much.
that's not established already. I agree with you, but I would go further back. I would say something in the High Republic.
Okay.
We haven't gotten anything visually from the High Republic yet. We're getting that Vision show that's coming out, or is it a book? Whatever it is. No, Vision's the book.
Visions is the anime.
The anime, right? Yes, the anime. Acolyte is the show that's coming out. That's supposed to be in the High Republic. Who knows if that's even gonna happen at this point. But I would go High Republic because there are so many interesting characters that could do a cool buddy cop thing, but it wouldn't necessarily have consequences to what we see further down the line in any of the 3 trilogies. So that's where I would go with that. But you're not wrong either. I think he could direct the hell out of Oscar Isaac and John Boyega, and I think that actually would be pretty cool. Speaking of shows that are coming to Disney Plus, Tom, the Obi-Wan show. First off, are you excited about it? Let's say it on the count of 3 together. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course we're excited about this, right? Like, absolutely.
Yes.
But this is interesting. Liam Neeson claims that he was not approached for the Obi-Wan show. Now,
bullshit.
I'm calling BS too. Because in the prequels, Yoda hints that, like, hey, your old master figured out this Force Ghost power. And we see Obi-Wan master that Force Ghost power in the original trilogy, right? So he has to have some contact with him at some point.
I mean, how do you just let that large of a quote from an iconic Star Wars character just go?
I don't know.
I mean, you can't. I mean, it's BS. He's an actor being an actor. He's being all charming and tra-la-la-la-la and all that BS, and he's not going to tell us the truth because it would ruin the surprise. Yeah. And I'm going to be just as up as a Force Ghost as I was if I knew he was going to show up. But I don't believe it for one second.
Dude, he got approached for The Rise of Skywalker to be a voice in that. You mean to tell me a show that's focusing on his apprentice, he's not involved at all? Come on, dude. He's involved. Something's going to go down with that. Something's gotta.
He's involved.
Something's gotta go down with that. He's a liar.
He's a liar.
He's a filthy liar.
I'll to his face.
And thank God he is, because come on. Like you've obviously heard my theory about what this whole show is going to be, right?
Enlighten me real quick. Give me the elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch. Okay, we're standing in an elevator. You hit floor 14. We're on floor 1. We're going to the very tip top, right? So here's the elevator pitch. So you remember the line in Return of the Jedi where Vader says, Obi-Wan once thought as you did. When Luke's talking to him about, they're still good in you, Father. I know it. He says, Obi-Wan once thought as you did.
Yes.
Okay. When?
What was that?
When did he say that to Obi? When did Obi-Wan say that to him?
When did Obi-Wan say that to...
That there's still good in you, to Darth Vader. When did he say that? Well, he didn't, because the last time we saw him see Anakin was when he was getting burned to death on Mustafar. So at what point did Anakin did Darth Vader have a conversation with Obi-Wan about how they're still good at him? Boom. That's your show.
Aha. Uh-huh.
Talk about iconic lines from famous characters. How you going to throw that away? How you going to throw that away?
You can't.
If this show isn't that, I don't know what this show is. This show has to be him finding out that Anakin is alive as Darth Vader, contacting him or running into him, or even better, Darth Vader checking in on his son and he sees him and doesn't realize that he's fighting Anakin. That's gotta be, it's gotta be a part of it. How is it not?
It's going to be now. I mean, you just basically laid it out for us. And if Star Wars, or if Kenobi doesn't take this path, or at least something similar, they're going to have a really bad show on their hands.
I mean, I've heard all these like casting things like this is doing this thing. I'm like, okay, whoa, hang on. Give me this story. This is the story I want to see. Like, I'm I'm like conditionally excited. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna be excited for anything we get Star Wars, especially live action. I'm watching Bad Batch for Christ's sake. You think I'm not gonna be excited about a live action Ewan McGregor returning as Obi-Wan? Come on. But like, if this isn't that, they're gonna have to really do a great show for me to be interested at all, because I don't see how you can do this show without addressing this, because it's in the movie. It's in the final part of the original trilogy. Like, you have to explain how, because how would he know any? I mean, of course, when he becomes one with the Force, it's a whole different thing. But like, he's gotta have a confrontation with. I mean, how amazing would it be if he's so okay? We're like on the 10th floor right now. So imagine just this scene, right? Obi-Wan is like looking out and he's watching young Luke Skywalker. Luke's like 8. Okay, he's running around on Tatooine helping his uncle do whatever he wants. He sees an Imperial shuttle land on Tatooine. He sees a cloaked figure come out, and it's Darth Vader. And they're both at distance, so Vader can see that Vader's at a distance. So Luke doesn't see Vader, right?
Right.
He comes out. Obi-Wan scans his little binocular thing and sees a dark figure in a cloak come out, and like goes to approach it because he thinks, okay, this is like an Inquisitor coming to kill Luke, because he obviously knows who his Inquisitors are because he's been around since all this has happened, right? He knows a little bit. I'm sure he's closed himself off to the Force like Luke has, but you see Obi-Wan go and attack this guy in defense of Luke, and Luke doesn't even know that any of this is happening. He's striking, they're having this amazing lightsaber fight. He hits a little bit of his helmet the same way Ahsoka did, which would be a great callback to Clone Wars, right?
Ooh,
hits the same piece off the helmet. He sees his eye and goes, Anakin, and like Vader force pushes him way away, runs off on the shuttle and goes off. Boom. That's how the show starts.
Ooh, that's solid.
Then from that, Obi-Wan is going, holy crap, Anakin is still alive. My Padawan's still alive. They're still good at him. I know it. He's not the bad guy that we think he is. He confronts him again, gets his ass handed to him, and then runs back to, or maybe they're on a different planet. Luke's like off with his uncle finding something, and then he ends up on Tatooine.
Damn.
That's my story, and that's the only story I want to see. And I know it. I'm gonna do the thing that everyone did with The Force Awakens, where they're gonna like be let down by it. But come on, that's such a good concept for a show.
That's incredible. I mean, they can't do anything with Satine because she's dead. So, Obi-Wan never had any other love interest, did he?
Not that I know of, but I mean,
they might make one up.
Omega. Omega turns 21 and goes to Tatooine. He's like, "Hello there."
She advanced ages, and that's like a filler episode in the middle of the season.
Episode 9, she's 22 years old.
Hanging out.
What's happening? We don't know. She's aging rapidly.
She's the one in my theory that she stole Qui-Gon Jinn's green kyber crystal and brought it to Luke. There we go. That's why I'm having
dude. We talked about this a few days ago. I would love that. I would love it.
Yeah.
I'd love it so much if that was the case. By the way, I found this out today. I'm a big action figure collector, especially the vintage collection, which we'll talk about later. But
yes.
Did you know that they made under the quote expanded universe line of the vintage collection, they made a Luke constructing his lightsaber figure?
No.
From the Blu-ray deleted. I'm not lying. Look this up. Are you by a computer?
Yes. Look
this up. Type in the vintage collection, Luke constructing lightsaber. And it should say like expanded universe. He's like black. It's like his thing on where he in Return of the Jedi, the black with the brown cloak. And it should say like Blu-ray special or something on the card itself. Look it up. I had no idea this existed, and this is now my one collectible that I'm not gonna say I'd trade all of my figures for, but I'd trade a few of them for it. It's such a cool figure.
Is it number 87?
Yes, that sounds right. TVC 87. Yep.
Yep.
I was going to
Yep,
say
that's it.
86. Isn't that dope that they made a figure off a deleted scene?
That's pretty cool.
Come on, man. That's dope. I love it so much. You know what else I love?
What's that?
Ben Mendelsohn's character, Director Krennic.
Oh my God, yes.
I do not like Rogue One.
I know you don't.
It's not a great movie. There's a bunch of issues with it. To me, it follows the same formula of A New Hope, and it's really boring for about 45 minutes, and then the last 40-ish are decent. But the standout character for me in that movie was Orson Krennic. I have an Orson Krennic magic band. I have the one 16-inch doll that I bought from Rogue One was Orson Krennic. I love Director Krennic. He's the man. And there is a rumor, my friend, that he is going to show up in the Cassian Andor show. And he's going to reprise his role as Director Krennic, Ben Mendelsohn is. What do you think? Yay?
Injected into my veins.
Oh, me
Injected
too.
into my veins.
I can't wait. This is one of those rumors where I'm like, it didn't really ruin it for me if it's true, because who knows what this is going to be.
Right.
Have you happened to have read, I don't think you have, because you said you've read one book. Have you happened to read the book Catalyst, a Rogue One story?
I have not, but I've heard you and Evan talk about Catalyst quite a bit. It's on my short list. The first thing, I have a couple of flights coming up here, and I'm going to read Light of the Jedi.
You got to read that first. That comes first for sure. What I'll do is I'll send you my Audible login, and you can log in and read all the books listen to all the books I have, and that's one of them. And then what I would do is I would try to listen to that as soon as you can, like in one sitting, or two, and maybe for a weekend, and then go watch Rogue One, because I actually think Rogue One's not as bad as I pretend it is. It's not a great movie, but it's not Attack of the Clones. It's to me it's less than. It's like I think it's better than all the prequels, but I don't think it's better than Solo. Solo was a lot of fun. People gave that movie a lot of crap for no reason. It's a good movie. It's not great, Solo, but I think it's on par with Rogue One. But I like Solo better because I think Rogue One's a little boring. Where Solo, there's no boring in Solo. It might not be the greatest movie you've ever seen, but there's nothing boring about it. But if you read Catalyst and then watch Rogue One, I think it changes the entire experience of Rogue One.
Okay.
I think it's the most important Star Wars novel that most people haven't read.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I finished that book in 2 or 3 days, and then the last day I listened to it, I saw Rogue One. And I remember there's a scene in Rogue One, because I've only seen Rogue One twice, to be completely transparent. 2 or 3 times. Maybe 3 or 4, but not more than that. I don't think I've watched it in its entirety except the 2 times I saw it in theaters. But there's a scene on Coruscant that's like a flashback, kind of a groggy scene. And that scene actually takes place in Catalyst. And it's like a really tense conversation between Galen Erso and Krennic, because they were like good friends. They were buddies, and they were both planning on doing good work for the Empire. And the way Galen took that was different than the way Krennic took that. And it's kind of their relationship falling apart. That's why that book is so brilliant. I'm actually going to go back and re-listen to it, but it's in my top 10 Star Wars books of all time.
Sweet.
It's such a good book, especially if you like Rogue One. You kind of have to hear it.
Okay.
What were we talking about before that? I completely forgot what we were talking about because I got completely lost on Catalyst. What were we talking about?
The rumor of Ben Mendelsohn returning as Krennic in Endor.
Right. Okay. So that
Endor.
I'm excited for it. I'll even be more excited if Galen shows back up. And not just because they announced that he's getting his own Black Series figure that I for sure pre-ordered on Target.com, but because I love Galen Erso. He's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. I tend to like the background characters a little bit more because I feel like a lot of the background characters have more to do with the plot than the main characters, which makes no sense. But when you look at the entire scale of the original trilogy specifically, and you look at how they destroyed the first Death Star, it is only because this guy had the foresight to put a failsafe in place.
Project Stardust.
Stardust, dude. Oh, Stardust. That is such. I call my daughter Stardust from time to time, and she has no idea what I'm talking about.
Oh, really?
I do. I call her Stardust from time to time. She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it." She doesn't get it. But yeah, I love that character so much, and I would be beyond elated to see him on the small screen. I think because he's a TV actor. He was in that show. What is the show? I'm blanking on the name of it.
I see it, but I know the name.
God, what's the name of that show? I got to give him credit because it's a really good show. Holly showed me the show. She liked it, and she was like, "You'll like that guy." I was like, "Oh, that's the guy from Star Wars," and she was like, "What?" And then we watched a little bit of the show, and I was like, I could not even imagine this guy as the character he portrays in the show because he's like a druggy kind of guy. It's a very strange character for him to be portraying, especially when you see him in Rogue One. You're like, that's not even close to the same guy. Hang on, I gotta find this. I'll edit this out if I have to. Star Wars. No. Hang on.
Speaking of Andor, do you want to see Forrest Whitaker return as Saw Gerrera just as bad?
Oh yeah, dude. Saw Gerrera is so important to the founding of the rebellion. I mean, like, he's an extremist with like really wild ideas, but he's not wrong.
No, he's not. He's not. I mean, we saw him have such a fitting end in Rogue One. I like the mysteriousness of his character and his background, but again, his fitting end in Rogue One, like, give us a little more substance, make it matter more.
Yeah,
now.
I agree. And the show was actually, oddly enough, called Bloodline, which is my favorite Claudia Gray novel, which I don't even know how I didn't remember that. But yeah, he's in Ben Mendelsohn's in Bloodline. It's a great show. But yeah, I want to see Saw Gerrera for sure. Like, I just love that character so much. I'm all in for him. I think he's such a cool character they could do a lot of cool stuff with. But yeah, that Andor show I don't care about at all. I'll be honest with you. I mean, like, I'm Bad Batch level care about that show.
Yeah,
I have a problem with prequels, man. Like, I just don't care because you know the outcome. Like, when you're watching Rogue One, you know what's going to happen. All the tension they try to make, you're like, oh wait, no, we know they get it. Like, even the Vader hallway scene, as intense as that is, you know the outcome when you're watching it.
Right.
And it bums you out a little bit. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I'm
gonna watch it because it's Star Wars content, and I'm gonna be a shill. So that's what I'm gonna do.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna dedicate myself to watching Rogue One this week because they announced the Hasbro Rogue One, quote, "I am your father" reveals. And it featured Galen Erso, Anton Merrick, and basically the entire cast of Rogue One. Jyn Erso, Bodhi Rook, Baze Malbus, Chirrut Imwe, Jyn Erso are all getting their own 6-inch Black Series figures, which are going to look amazing mounted on my wall all together. Did you know that the new packaging now, they kind of create like a mini mural?
No.
When you put them all side by side the right way, they kind of create a mural. It's beautiful.
Oh, is that what, like, I'm looking at them right now. Is that what's like on the side of the box?
Yes, and it's like nice and angled too. Oh, it's beautiful. I love the new Black Series packaging. I think it is. I know a lot of collectors are annoyed because now they don't fit in like the standard Black Series case that they used to make, or it doesn't fit as well, I should say. And some of them don't fit at all because they've made the packaging a little bit bigger. But the new packaging is so beautiful as far as artwork goes, to the point that they are doing a Black Series Stormtrooper helmet that is just like a First Order Stormtrooper helmet that has Last Jedi packaging on it. Dude, if you look it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. The red, I don't know what color that is that they chose, the red on that. It is gorgeous. And I want the helmet because I like the Black Series helmets, but I want the helmet because that packaging is just so beautiful. It's like a work of art in and of itself. I love it. But do you have any Black Series figures?
No, I don't.
What are you doing, man?
I don't.
What are you doing?
I'm General Grievous over here collecting sabers first, legacy sabers first. I got to get that out of the way first. I'm like OCD with that shit, especially moving to Florida in a month and a half. It's going to make life easier to do that too. So
I thought about you today because today's Father's Day. We're recording this. It's almost not Father's Day. It's almost the next day. It's late. But I was at the Acme Star Wars toy convention today in Orlando, or I guess it's technically Orlando. I don't know if it's actually Orlando, if it has like a different, slightly outside of Orlando address, but I digress. And I was there today, and you can see my video that I posted on YouTube, youtube.com/TheBradVentures, if you want to check it out. It's great. It's a good video. I saw someone was selling one of the Star Wars Skywalker hilt sets, and I thought of you, and I was going to text you, but then I asked him how much he was selling it for. He's selling it for $750.
Nah,
I was like, that's because I remember what we talked about a few days ago. I was like, ugh, that's probably. I didn't even want to tease you, so I feel bad even telling you this now, but I feel like I had to.
No, I appreciate you thinking of me and being honest. I would have respectfully declined. And it's funny. I actually went back and the sale that was much less. For that particular item, that was much less than $750 that you clued me into the other day. I went back and looked, but alas, it's gone.
Oh
so
no!
It's okay. It's okay. I waited. It was my doing. So I looked.
Well, at least you have Leia's.
Yeah.
You got Leia's. It's nice and safe. You're good. You'll get it when you move to Orlando. I mean, I can mail it to you, but you have it when you move to Orlando. It'll be a nice little, a little present for when you get here.
Ooh.
But yeah, you got Leia, so that's good. I feel so bad you didn't get that, man.
Should I tell that story real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I was online on Shop Disney, May the 4th, with all the rest of you shills, looking to get that lightsaber set, Luke and Leia. So one that they released like the morning of, or no, they released the day before or a couple days before, whatever they said they were doing it. But I was up 7 a.m. Arizona time because it's just the way it is sometimes when you're on the West Coast. But I was already working, so up and boom, I was waiting in queue for a little bit, but I got right in and look at the lightsaber set was still available, and I had no idea until Brad told me they were only selling 3,000 of these things. And can you believe it that I actually landed one? I was charged for it. I got a confirmation that it was coming my way, and I'd get it in 7 to 10 days. So I was thrilled. And I don't know if I ever told you this part, Brad, but I already owned the Reforged Skywalker lightsaber, and I had just purchased it on a trip to Disney World literally days beforehand. And I gifted that to my awesome nephews just because I was anticipating it in the mail until Shop Disney didn't do what Shop Disney is normally good at doing, and that's fulfilling their orders. And they canceled it out of nowhere. They gave me my money back, and I am now one less lightsaber, technically 3. Well, Leia's is safe at your place in Florida right now, but alas, I can go off on a tangent. I tried to email the president of Shop Disney. I was that pissed off about it. Breaks my heart just kind of thinking about it.
Well, like I told Evan on the last show, whenever he gets something or I get something, I kind of feel like we have something. And so if you think about it that way, you kind of do have it because I mean this sincerely. If you were ever like, and this would be a very strange request, but I would be like, I understand. If you were ever like, hey man, can I borrow that for like a few weeks? I'd be like, absolutely. So
I have some people to impress.
I've got friends coming over for dinner. Can I borrow your lightsaber set? Like I know that sounds weird to say, but like when you're as close as me and Evan are, like whenever he gets something, I'm like, dude, we got that. Like it feels like we have it. So in a way, you still have it because I have it. But I know it's not the same. But like you do have one. You do have one. You know what I mean? Like you do have one. So I feel so freaking bad you got that because I wanted it to be like, dude, Shop Disney sucks sometimes because I've dealt with it for so long. Like the amount of people that I know that have come to me and been like it happened this week. I don't know if I posted it in our group, but I was like, I think I posted it. Maybe I didn't. But someone would text me or message me and they were like, hey, they canceled my Vader ears. Can you still get a pair of Vader ears?
Ugh.
And I'm just like, but like, I don't get how they can't figure out. We have, because it wasn't 3,000. So in my brain, I know it wasn't the math that they did, but you know, if you have 3 places you can sell this thing, 1,000 go to Shop Disney, 1,000 go to Disney World, and 1,000 go to Disneyland. When they're out, they're out. Why can't they figure out we have 1,000 of these to sell? I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you don't have. I mean, like, because and like it costs them money to refund you guys because like they pay processing fees through like Visa and stuff. So like they're losing money not figuring this out. Classic Disney, dude. It's classic Disney. It drives me insane.
And I will never ever buy anything from Shop Disney again if for whatever reason. I need something from the parks. I got someone to go through. So.
Yep, you got me, dude. And all you gotta do is let me know what you want, and I got you. And then before you know it, you'll be here and you can do it on your own. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Like, you can do it by yourself, but like you can do it on your own. You can show up to studios. If I can't, you can pop in and go grab it. So
when Cal Kestis's lightsaber goes on sale, I will be first in line, or second behind you.
Don't you worry about it, dude. I got a plan.
Oh.
I got a plan.
Okay.
I usually get the heads up that these things are dropping the day before, and I will let you know.
You're the best. I can't wait.
I got the skinny on the Skywalker hilt before anyone did, and I didn't talk about it. We talked about it like the day before it was coming out for May the 4th, but I knew like on the 1st or 2nd it was coming out.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I didn't know exactly what it was because they were sealed. So like when they showed up to the stores, they were completely sealed, but like you could look on the bottom and it would say Skywalker hilt set or something. And so people were like, I don't know what that means. And so people were thinking it was Luke and Leia's. But when you go back and watch Rise of Skywalker, it makes sense what we're in there because it's literally canon. They wrapped it in the orange cloth with the little leather tie.
Yep.
It makes total sense.
Yep.
All right, so we talked a little bit about Forrest Whitaker, so we'll go ahead and skip that one. But yes, bring him into the Cassian Andor show. Now, what we've been doing, me and Evan, on this show, we'll try to do this a little quicker than what we did the first part because it's late. But we like to do the back half of the show. We like to do a top 10 list, and I thought this would be a good way to get the listeners of the show to know you a little bit before you come on for real full time when you get into town. And make no mistake, it's not the last time you're going to be on the show before that happens. But just for people to get to know you on their first go around with you on the show, we could do a top 10 list of our favorite moments in Star Wars. Now, what does that mean as a concept? The way I interpreted this, and I think I conveyed this to you, was to what are your personal top 10 things that affected you from Star Wars as a whole? Doesn't necessarily have to be the movies. It doesn't have to be TV shows. It can be anything Star Wars related that affected you in a way that you can remember exactly where you were the first time you experienced it. Or if you watched, Rogue One for the 10,000th time and, your son finally got the movie, whatever it is. So I'm going to defer to you. I'm going to let you go. So what we do on top 10 lists is we go from 10 to 1 because that's how top 10 lists should be. You shouldn't start out at number 1. That makes no sense. So we will go from 10 to 1 and we'll alternate. So you give your 10, I'll give my 10, and we'll go all the way up to the very tip top of the number 1 list. Does that sound good, my friend?
That sounds spectacular, and that's exactly how I made my top 10 list. So
beautiful. You're smarter than you look. Just kidding. I'm an idiot. Let's go. So number 10, I should say. Number 10 for you. What is your number 10 moment in Star Wars? I think this is going to be such a fun list to do. I can't wait to get into this.
Yeah. This was fun writing and putting together. And let me know if I'm off base, but I think I found. But my number 10 moment was I was young, probably about 11 or 12 years old, and I grew up in Chicago. I don't think I mentioned that yet. But back in Chicago, we had garage sales and alleyway sales frequently, right? And there was a big one going on where we were selling shit out of our garage. Our neighbors were, like everybody was. Like there weren't cars coming down the alleyways. People were showing up with, their single dollar bills and buying stuff left and right from us. And this was a long alley, probably about 3/4 of a mile long. But anyway, people were selling random shit, and then this guy shows up. This random guy sets up shop at the end of the alleyway, and I'm riding my bike around. I'm hanging out with friends, and he's just selling random shit, including Beanie Babies, random books, some military junk, and there was this very vintage-looking picture on the table with robots and little grizzly bears on it. At least that's what I saw. And for whatever reason, I bought it, not knowing. I bought my first piece of Star Wars memorabilia. It was a framed picture of the Battle of Endor. The photo was staged, but it was definitely Endor with all like the main casts, Ewoks, Stormtroopers, etc., and all that stuff. This is my first real Star Wars memory, and I don't know why. I was just drawn to purchasing that particular picture, and I remember hanging it up in my room downstairs in my dad's house. Um, it was it was just crazy because I had no connection to Star Wars before this, and I was just drawn to this framed picture. And to this day, I can't never not forget about that moment when I'm thinking of like early on Star Wars memories.
Do you still have the photo?
It would be with my father, but I do not know why I wouldn't.
Dude, you gotta find that.
I know. I do. I was thinking about that when I was typing this out, and probably going to give him a call. I mean, I talked to him today, obviously Father's Day, but I'm probably going to give him a call this week and be like, hey, next time you're rummaging around with some stuff in the garage, look for this.
Dude, that's you have to find that. Like, that would be such a freaking, like, the thing about Star Wars stuff is like it's all about what makes a big deal to you. And I can tell just by that story, like the details you remember of like you riding your bike, and it was like a garage sale kind of thing. Like, that's something that means a lot to you. You gotta find that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good one. Okay.
I will.
I gotta cheat a little bit. I had to place this in my top 10. So I'm gonna give 2 because I have 11. Honestly, I couldn't not include this one. But it's my number 11. This happened over quarantine, like not too long ago, actually. But it was getting my Star Wars #1 comic.
Ooh.
I bought Star Wars #1 for an obscene amount of money, like a few months ago, and it's actually right now getting graded by CGC. And it was one of those things, man, where like I got like I never, dude. This is what's so weird. I never cared about vintage Star Wars figures or even figure collecting until about 6 months ago. And once I dove in with freaking my head in, arms out, completely like off the deep end on a high-rise diving board into the pool of collecting these figures and old stuff. And I've gone from not collecting old Star Wars comics to having most of the, well, I don't know about most, but a good chunk of the original run of Star Wars Marvel comics. I think I have issues like 1, 2, 3 up through like 10 or 11 or something like that. And the only notable issue that I do not have yet, and it's only because I haven't seen it in person yet, the moment I see this, I'm buying it, is Star Wars issue number 42, the first appearance of Boba Fett. The Marvel comics are very odd. It's not canon, but like the first 4 or 5. Oh, actually, you know what? I take it back. There's like issue number 4 or 5 I don't have because it's the first. It's the battle between Vader and Obi-Wan in the comic book. I don't have that one either, and that one's expensive too. We're talking like 400 or 500. Just like I don't want to say what I spent on the first issue, but it was along those lines. So I had to include that one on there because it was just, I remember seeing it in the store and like me and Holly talking about it. And I was like, I have to get this. And she's like, Brad, it's blank dollars. And I was like, I understand. I was like, but this is something that like, I at this point I had never seen one in person. And I was like, I have to get this. I still haven't seen another one in person, by the way.
Wow.
I was like, I have to get this. And she let me buy it. And she is glad we did because I literally haven't seen another one. So I had to put this on my list. And I was at the register, and the people at the comic book store remember me from buying that comic book. And every time I go in the store, like, hey, the guy that bought the issue number 1, like, hey, I mean, I made them a lot of money, but but they're just like super cool about it. And they're like, remember, you like, my hands were sweating. I was like, I can't believe I'm holding this. and it was just such a cool moment. So I had to include that one. It's not quite in my top 10, but it was one of those things where I was like, I had to mention it.
Okay.
My actual number 10 is a little less intense, but it was watching A New Hope in theaters with my dad when they did the re-release in 95, 5, 6, whatever it was. Watching A New Hope with my dad. I mean, and the thing is about it is I remember being like annoyed that we had to go see it because Star Wars has always been in my life, even though I didn't realize it. Like I grew up playing with Star Wars toys, and my dad would just buy me Star Wars toys, and I just was like, okay, it's cool, it's an action figure. Like I didn't care. And I remember like being annoyed that we had to go see it. I remember we went to see it at the Pineville Matthews Mall. It's not at the mall. It's like across the street from the mall. At the movie theater there. I think it was that one. I'm like 95% sure it was that movie theater. And being like, we have this movie at home. Why are we going to see it at the movie theater? And I was like, you'll understand when we see it. And just being like completely mind blown at how cool that movie was because I'd never seen it at home. But I remember like we had the VHS, and my dad was like, "It's different," and I was like, "It's not different. What are we doing?" Because I remember my dad has always been like a tech nerd, and we had like an amazing home stereo in the 90s. And my dad would like put on the Lion King scene where Mufasa gets trampled to death and like show off the sound system to friends when they came over for like house parties and stuff. And just being like, why are we going to see this movie? We have it at home. Like we can watch it, and just being completely mind blown. So that's my true number 10.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was just a cool moment with me and my dad. And on Father's Day, you got to include that.
Oh, you got to include it, yeah. You want me to jump to number 9?
Yeah, go for it, dude.
All right, number 9. We took a 7th grade field trip to go see The Phantom Menace. The fact this is what.
Can I ask why you guys went to see The Phantom Menace on a field trip? Because my field trip sucked. We went to like Discovery Place and like strawberry picking. It was all boring crap. You went to see The Phantom Menace. We
sure did, and we got Taco Bell that day.
Dude, what a corporate tie-in! Was it like a business class in 7th grade?
No,
because they were doing like this. They were doing the Phantom Menace stuff at Taco Bell at that point, weren't they? For Phantom Menace,
I think you're right. It's probably why they took us to Taco Bell because they were like,
kids, this is called synergy.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that we got time off of school just to go see this event of a movie it's just epic thinking about it. And I remember talking to our gym teacher. He's like, I remember the old timey ones from the 70s, and they're like, yep, Mr. Higgins, yep, we hear you. So, but now I was laughing. We're the old ones.
Isn't it wild to think that like the 70s when we were a kid was as close as like 2007 is now?
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
It's wild, dude. It's nuts. Did the Phantom Menace like? Were you like a Star Wars fan at that point already?
I was kind of like you. It existed, but I was not anywhere near where I'm at right now.
See, that's funny because I remember when the Phantom Menace came out, I was all into the hype. Like we'll talk about it later on in the list, but like I remember like my grandmother buying me going to Walmart in Alabama, Gulf Shores, Alabama. I could literally drive to this day from my grandmother's house to the Walmart we went to. And my grandmother's been dead for like 5 years, but like I remember going with her in her Oldsmobile Cutlass to these stores and like finding that, and like a mixture between like Star Wars figures and Pokemon was like a big thing for me. And I remember her getting me the comm chip reader and like how the toy, and it's so funny because I remember the toys sounding, I was like, that sounds so real. Now when you hear the CommTech reader, it's like a joke. It's ridiculous how terrible they sound.
Oh really?
Oh dude, you got to look it up. They sound like a robotic mess. It sounds ridiculous. And I remember them sounding real as a kid. And I remember like, dude, the action figures talk, man. It was such a trip for me. But I was all in already as a 10-year-old when I saw Phantom Menace, because it came out in 99, right?
Yep, 99.
Yeah. So I was May of 99, right? So I had just turned 10. I turned 10 in February of 99. So I was like, dude, prime age for those.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so that's so cool. You went on a field trip to see that. That is so dope.
I know.
All right, so my number 9 fast forwards quite a bit to Yoda appearing in The Last Jedi.
Oh, okay.
I remember seeing that. It was me, Josh, and a listener who is friends of mine now. His name is Kirk. He's been on the show, I think, a few times, or I've been on his show or something. I can't remember exactly how that all went down. But he won like tickets to go watch it with us. Like we did a giveaway on Twitter at the time. And we're like,
That's
hey,
cool.
Come watch this movie with us. And he won. And he came watch it. And I remember just shrieking in joy. I was like, oh my God, they brought Yoda back. Because at that point, like they had brought some of the original trilogy characters back. Like, I mean, obviously Han and Luke and stuff. But I just wasn't prepared for that. Because, they had shown that Luke had, cut himself off from the Force. And I was just like, okay, I guess that's where we're at. And then Yoda pops up. And it's just one of those moments in the movie, especially if you're not expecting it. It was just such a cool, like, oh, okay. It was almost like I almost breathed a sigh of relief. I was like, okay, Disney kind of understands what they're doing with Star Wars.
Yeah. It's such a pivotal scene in that flick.
Some of the best lines from that movie are in that scene.
Sure are. Some of my favorite, that scene, that whole scene with Yoda in The Last Jedi for me. Outside of all the other great things, but so pivotal. I can totally see where it lands with you.
I just watched a video the other day of a video on YouTube, and it was somebody like confusing plot holes that Star Wars created, and it was like all in the sequels, and I'm like, some of these don't make any sense, and this was one of them. And he was like, well, if Yoda knows that Rey took the books, why did he light the tree on fire? Now, that's a plot hole. I'm like, okay, Frank, hang on, it's not a plot hole. Yoda knows what happened. Luke doesn't know what happened. Luke thinks that the sacred text, he says it in the movie. I swear to God, people just are like too busy texting or something to watch the movie. Like he says it. He's like the sacred text. He's like, no, that tree doesn't have anything that Rey does not already possess. He's saying that she took the books, and so all the sacred texts are safe. This is just a monument that you've created to these texts that doesn't mean anything. And to show that they don't mean anything, I'm going to light it on fire. That's the meaning of that scene. It's a symbol. He's destroying the symbol of what Luke has created. The tree is what he envisions the sacred text being. And that's the whole point of the scene is like, this, none of this matters, dude. Like she's what matters right now. And I don't get how people don't get that in that scene. But that scene is obviously in my top 10. I mean, it's such a good scene. All right, man. What's your number 8?
Number 8 is this is what I teased for The Mandalorian. So The Mandalorian. The reason why I put this here, because this last episode of Mandalorian obviously we were juiced up for it, for several reasons, but almost all the speculation that led up to it. I had to wait all day, and this included with my phone blowing up from my buddy Kyle and 50 million other people telling me to get off my ass and watch the damn show immediately. But work and other things were happening, and I like to wait for my wife, for us to be kind of done with work and just chillax and watch. I stayed way, way, way far away from social media that day, and it made the anticipation for this episode and the reveal at the end with Luke so much sweeter. Knowing, and I knew, as I'm sure you did and Evan did as well, like you knew who it was from the moment that single X-Wing flew by. I remember going, oh my God, it's Luke. And Evan's like, no. And I was like, it's Luke. I saw R2. Yeah. I literally said that to him when we were watching it. Yeah. I said, when it flew by, I said to my wife, I said, I know who it is. And I didn't want to spoil it for her because I knew right away she wouldn't pick it up, and she threw a couple of guesses my way, and it was still a shock to her. But that's just that event sticks with me, right? Because The Mandalorian is just so fucking good, especially season 2. It's something that I remember, and I will always remember and cherish from a Star Wars perspective.
I'm with you, man. It's on my list, just a little higher up. Because that scene is just. I actually thought you were going to say the scene that was like a top 10 for you was like the first episode of Mandalorian. But I didn't include that one because I actually think you could watch the first 3 episodes of The Mandalorian season 1 and then not watch the rest and still get season 2. I think season 1 had a lot of filler because I think they were, like I said before, they were just trying to see what stuck with people.
Yeah. You're right. I could see that.
Like, there's nothing in there that isn't like, I mean, you wouldn't get like, you know, the Fennec Shand episode and she would just be a person that was, but like he's a bounty hunter and the entire guild was after him. So like, it's not like you're not missing, I mean, because that's essentially what that episode was. Like, you know, so we could talk in more about Mando on another episode because I feel like we definitely could and should. But my number 8 was seeing the Phantom Menace in theaters. And this is one of those things where when I was doing this list, I didn't want to include this because I'm not a big prequels fan. I'm a huge fan of everything else. Of the 3, so for me, my sequel ranking goes, I go back and forth. My thing is I saw Phantom Menace at such a young age for me. It just hits me. I gotta go 1, 3, 2. I love the Phantom Menace. It is by no means the best of the prequels. By far, like if I'm going favorite versus best, favorite is 1, 3, 2. The best is 3, 1, 2. But my favorite is just I love pod racing so much. One of my favorite things about Hollywood studios is that I can go in anytime I want and go look at the actual pod racing device, the actual pod racer that they used in the Phantom Menace. It's there. You can go see it. It's just so cool. The pod racing, like to this day, like name any other CGI that holds up like the Phantom Menace from '99.
Nothing.
Nothing holds up from '99. I mean, nothing.
Yeah.
And everything holds up in that movie. It just the pod racing scene alone makes that movie so cool. And it shouldn't be as cool as it is, and it's really long. And it was actually going to be longer than that. They cut it down. But it was just such an amazing sequence for me as a kid, like a 10-year-old boy. Come on. I was into Hot Wheels and stuff at the time. Dude.
Oh, hell yeah.
That blew my mind. Seeing Darth Vader, young Darth Vader. Because I knew that was what it was going to be.
Right.
Young Darth Vader zipping around on Tatooine on this like crazy looking racing device was so cool. And I had the toys before that. I have Evan got me for I don't remember if it was my birthday or Christmas. I think it was my birthday. He got me Sebulba's Pod Racer, the toy.
Oh, cool.
And I had that one and Anakin's as a kid. And I remember running around my grandmother's yard that summer getting excited for this, not even knowing what it was. But just like running around with him, like having Sebulba and Anakin in the cockpit, like, and just pretending they were racing. Like, it's impossible for me to separate my history with Star Wars and not include the Phantom Menace. That movie is just mwah for me at that time. The same way that everyone felt about the original Star Wars movie when they were 10, it's the same thing for me. But like almost like even more so because I already had the original trilogy to love. So it was just like adding that love and then just continuing it in a new movie. And it's by no means a great movie. It is. Yeah. There's great things about it. Like I still think Qui-Gon Jinn is the greatest Jedi in the history of Star Wars. He's my favorite Jedi, no questions asked. And then it's Luke. But I love Qui-Gon. Like if we were getting a Obi-Wan show, or I'm sorry, a Qui-Gon show instead of the Obi-Wan show, I would be 10 times more excited. He's my guy. Yeah. Like the way people love Obi-Wan and Han Solo, like that's their character. Qui-Gon is my character. I love him so much. It's him and R5. Those are my favorite. And to this day, I can't freaking find the 50th. Even today, I was looking for it. The 50th Qui-Gon Jinn that they released on the Power of the Force 2, or the Episode 1 card. I couldn't find it today, and it made me mad. I really wanted it. It was a Best Buy thing, and they're sold out. I can't find one. But yeah, it's impossible for me to separate my love of Star Wars and not include Phantom Menace. Plus, also too, like I was a kid of the N64, playing the pod racing game over and over and over again. And then during the pandemic when it dropped, I bought it on Switch and I played it for 2 weeks straight. Like I love anything pod racing. It's my jam. I love it. So it's up there for me. So all right, man, go ahead with I could talk about Phantom Menace, my love for it. I don't think I've ever really expressed on the show how much I love that movie. It's just nostalgia for me. When I watch it, I remember I was in Alabama for the summer with my grandparents. I was going back. They lived 5 miles between each other. So I would bounce back and forth. Like I would be with my grandparents my mom's mom for 1 week, my dad's mom for another week, and I would just bounce back and forth between. I'd just call them like, "Hey, I want to come see you," and then we'd go. And so it was like a whole thing. And I remember having to wait like a week to see it with my dad because my dad flew down. He was working, and he just took me to go see it because we just had time. And I was just like, I remember like him be like, "Don't go see it without me. Don't go see it without me." And we saw it, and I remember like being disappointed by it, but also loving it at the same time. It was one of those things like I just wasn't willing to accept that it wasn't a great movie. Plus, I was 10. I don't know. It was it's hard. It's hard to like, with nostalgia. It's like it's nostalgia, man. Like you can't not feel it when you talk about that movie for me. So, all right, I could talk about that movie again. We have so many episodes we got to do. What's your number 7, dude?
Number 7, seeing The Force Awakens with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, and my buddy Kyle, who I mentioned before, who was visiting Arizona from Chicago.
The other co-host of the Fourth Mother Box podcast, right?
You got that right, sir. Thank you for the plug.
Absolutely,
plug, and that was free too. Look at that.
I'll send your invoice.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Check is not in the mail. To use an obvious pun, this event, and I always call Star Wars movies events. It's what they are, because the theater was packed, right? This was 2015 we're talking about. We weren't worried about no stinking COVID yet.
No.
The theater was packed. And this literally, the movie was called The Force Awakens, but this awakened something deeper that was sleeping dormant in my Star Wars fandom. And like I said earlier, I will continuously credit Disney for giving me the means to get this deep into this outstanding universe. So number 7 is seeing The Force Awakens.
Dude, I think that like marketing classes will examine this as like a master class in how to market a movie. They had the entire world jazzed. It's the number 2 selling movie of all time. I don't think, including inflation, I think Still Gone with the Wind is like 5 times bigger. But modern times, like I think Endgame. What I always get Infinity War. Infinity War is the first one, then Endgame, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Infinity War. Endgame.
I think Endgame ultimately beat it, but it's the number 3 movie of all time. I don't think people remember, dude. Like people were so anything they could get. I remember the cast like just showing up on like Good Morning America randomly unannounced, and just like not being able to talk about it, being like, this movie's going to blow your mind. And I think for a lot of people, it got overhyped, which can be a problem. Or they had expectations going into it that didn't live up to whatever they said. Like same thing that might be my problem with the Obi-Wan show. But I try to go into everything with an open mind. But I remember sitting there in The Force Awakens and watching and that'll come up later on my list too. I feel like I put that down. Yeah. It comes up later. So you know what? I'll save it for when I talk about it. But yeah, dude, I'm with you on that 100%. That was such an experience, and that's the only way to put it.
Yeah,
it was wild, man. That was such a good one. It's a great one on your list there. My number 7 is kind of similar to yours, but it's more along the lines of the hype and the build up to The Force Awakens. So, flash cut from 10-year-old me in number 8 going to see Phantom Menace in the theaters. Flash cut to me being a dad of 2 kids, quitting stand-up comedy, and going to work in a freaking chicken plant. I did that for like 6 months until I got injured on the job and had to quit, and that's when I moved down to Orlando because I got a job at Disney.
Yeah.
Long story, I've told it on the show before. I don't want to bore anyone with it. But I had a time where we had a 3-day weekend, which was unheard of. I mean, I knew people who worked at that place. It was a non-union plant, and they literally worked people to the bone. I've never been so tired in my life than when I worked at that friggin' place. I would still eat Purdue chicken to this day, so not a knock on them. But it was just a non-unionized thing, and I literally knew people who worked every day for 4 years straight, 14-hour days every single day, working themselves to the bone. It was exhausting. So I had a chance to have a 3-day weekend one weekend. Just happened to be I had the weekend off, and we had the following Monday off. So my parents surprised me with my son coming into town, because at the time they weren't living near me. They lived in Maryland still. And we were able to take him to Orlando, and we went to Star Wars Launch Bay. It was either the week it opened or the week after it opened. It was in that time frame. I can't remember exactly what the days were. I'd have to go look at when it opened and when I was there. But I know those dates, so I can look it up eventually. But just the hype at Disney's Hollywood Studios, because there was like rumors that a Star Wars land was coming. It was all before that. I mean, I feel like that was the same trip I saw the Osborne lights, like for the last time. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to see them once.
It was so great. But the time, like they had stuff for sale at the Backlot Express that was like all Star Wars themed, like Star Wars named burgers. And it was like, I got a BB-8 sign that I took with me to work every day until The Force Awakens came out. I remember talking to people who worked at the plant, like, dude, Star Wars is coming. I can't wait to go see it. I almost didn't get to go see Force Awakens the opening night because I was too worried about not being able to get up for work the next morning. That's how tired I was, dude. Like, I was worried about seeing a 7 o'clock showing because I might not be able to wake up at 3 a.m. to go to work. It was wild. So that for me is the time I kind of look back and I go like, man, I've come a long way from being like that physically exhausted and like, you know, busting it to make ends meet to being where I am today, which is, you know, better than I was a year ago. But like, it's just one of those things where it kind of makes you look back on your life and go like, man, what a big change. And I just remember like riding Star Tours. I feel like they had just changed Star Tours over to the new one that featured Jakku, without giving, maybe that was after. I can't remember exactly, but I just remember being there for that time period, like 2 weeks before the movie came out, 3 weeks before the movie came out, and just being like, fever pitch, I can't wait for this movie.
Yeah.
Such a good time, man. Such a good time.
Good times indeed.
All right, man. What's your number 6?
Number 6. The whole... And this one's interesting because you never really think about this for the video game, but fuck it. This is nerdom. This is fantasy. This is what we want. This is what we
dude. Hell yeah. Give me a video game. There's nothing video game related on my list, but there probably should be.
Okay. The whole Jedi Fallen Order experience for me, and I know there's a little recency bias there, but while the game has its flaws, and we talked about those flaws earlier, and I trust the sequel will improve upon it but the story is spectacular to me. They took the old another Jedi survived Order 66 story and they made it interesting. And they at least plus Cal Kestis is a fucking ginger, and that means he's like me. So you know, spoiler alert. I'm a redhead. I'm a ginger. So if you don't like that, you know. What the fuck? What's your problem? But anyway, I digress. Moving along, this means I can finally cosplay as a real Jedi Knight. And even when I grow my beard out all gnarly like I'm doing right now, I can be like old man Cal and be like super old Jedi Knight, be all wise and shit. Or I could just wear my black Jedi get up and be if like Cal were to be an Inquisitor or something.
That's how I saw you the first time was in that black those black Jedi robes. I still don't know how you did that.
That was hot, but
I don't know how you were there in that all day, right?
All day
How do you and Evan do that? How do you and Evan do that? Not for 5 minutes would I be in that costume.
You know, there was a lot of adrenaline pumping that day.
I bet.
We were trying to get on Rise. Obviously, I bought my first saber that day, and we'll get into more of that as we get closer on down the list. But I think I knew what I was in for that day, and I just embraced the sweat.
Whew, you probably lost like 10 pounds in sweat that day, man, for real.
It felt like it.
I wouldn't be shocked if you truly, truly did, because that's, I mean, you're talking to a guy who it didn't get cold enough last year in 2020 for me to wear my Rebel pilot costume, and that's not even close to that black thing in the sun. I don't know how you did it. You and Evan both are champs at that. I'm a coward. No thanks. If I'm uncomfortable, I'm not in.
I probably won't break it out until like November, December. So
I wouldn't do it. Like for me, when I do the Rebel pilot costume, it's January, February when it's really cold. Okay. Because it keeps me warm. Like it's 50 degrees outside, but it's 80 in that costume, bro. That was number 6, right?
6, yeah.
All right, number 6 for me was Luke showing up in The Mandalorian. We talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
But dude, I remember it was because it's one of those things where it's when I think about it, what I try to do with this is I try to remember specifics about it. Like, I remember specifically it was me and Evan and Holly, and we were sitting there, and I remember freaking out because there was so much speculation going before. I was like, oh, it might be Cal. I mean, I remember you telling us on
Yeah.
I think you contacted Evan and be like, oh, it's going to be Cal Kestis. And we're like, oh, that'd be dope. Or like, oh, it might be Mace Windu showing up. I never thought, we may have said it jokingly that it was going to be Luke Skywalker, because it's one of the things that, like, we know he's alive. But, like, I never thought that they would ever bring him in. See, like, realistically, I never thought they would do that, because they had never done anything like that before with the animated stuff, like Clone Wars and all that. And that's the only reference we have for TV. That's why I say Clone Wars. But, like, Clone Wars has obviously had, like, Anakin and, like, major characters in it, but they never really brought, like, a bombshell like that, like they did with that. I mean, that was so mind-blowing, dude, that, like, a secret's really dope when the internet doesn't ruin it.
Yep.
Like, it was so incredible that, like, no one goes, dude, you see that Luke showed up in Mandalorian? Like, no one did that. It was, people, like, oddly respected it in a weird way. I will never forget. I cried. I think from here on up, every time I'm talking about something, I cried. Like, I cried for real. I mean, I just couldn't believe that, like, not that, like, and I hate to even say this because I love The Last Jedi so much, but, like, it was in some ways like a redemption for Luke. And I don't mean, like, that the character didn't get what he was deserved. The character served the purpose of the story they were telling. But you finally got to see him as a Jedi Master murking people. And not people, but droids. And you got to see him just taking people out. And I think that was when the Last Jedi people's opinion started to change. And you know, if that's what it takes to have that awesome moment, but to me, again, not to get too far off topic here, but, like, that fit The Mandalorian, whereas seeing him and doing that in The Last Jedi doesn't make as much sense. No. It made total sense in that moment, and it was the most. It's in my, if you're doing bittersweet moments, that's number one. Like seeing Grogu go off to him, you know, and then just kind of knowing how that pans out. If you're paying attention, you know it doesn't end well. But it was just one of those things, man, where it was just so perfect, and that they didn't really give it too much away, but they did if you're really paying attention. Like if you know what his hilt looks like, you saw that it was him early on. You know what the X-Wing looks like. There were hints to it. But it was just so masterfully done that it just worked on every single freaking level. And it's one of the greatest moments in Star Wars history. And that's why it's my number 6 halfway through this list.
Couldn't agree more. So number 5, if I could jump to 5.
Please.
And this is going to be cheesy. It's going to be cheesy. And I'm not doing it to kiss ass or anything, but so what's today? Well, you're in the future, so it's June 21st already by you.
Yes.
It's currently June 20th, 2021. So for me joining Jedi Talk for the first time, it lands on my top 5 actually. As like a top
no way, dude! For real?
Seriously. So when I was getting into Star Wars, like I'm talking about past the basics, past like I could hold a conversation with somebody. When I was like, all right, I'm like into this just as much as I am into Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, you know, DC, and you know all the other shit that I got, you know, Metallica level for me. And for those of you that don't know me that well, Metallica is my Led Zeppelin. So Led Zeppelin is to Brad as Metallica is to me. So I'll just leave it at that.
Dude, I would say more so. You have a Metallica tattoo, and you were in the music video.
This is true.
So I was never in the Good Times, Bad Times music video. So I think you win on that one.
Well, still, I'm not here to judge him. But anyway, so I found you guys on Twitter, obviously, in that devilish place that I still exist on.
You got to get off.
Yeah. Found you guys on Twitter, and it was like I was looking for podcasts too at the time, and it just I'm going to give Jedi Talk a try. So obviously, listening to it, I learned a bunch. I learned so much, specifically with the novels, and I bought a bunch of them really never, unfortunately, haven't been able to find the time to read them. I've been able to find the time to read them, but that's going to change here. Like I said, I've got a couple of flights coming up here. We've got some road trips, a big one coming up too. But I digress. Moving forward, yeah, but just joining Jedi Talk for the first time. I always, kind of thought about it, and when you approached me with it, I was like, man, that's going to be like huge for me in my Star Wars nerddom, fandom, creativity outlet. So I appreciate that, and that's why we land on the top 5 list here for me.
Well, dude, that's very, very sweet, and you are this. You're one of my favorite people, and I love you, man. You're the best, and I'll speak for Evan on this. We are beyond excited to have you here. So you got a home, dude. We love you, and that's very humbling. So I'm like getting emotional, man. That's amazing. That's on your list. That's awesome.
Hell yeah. I could not put it on my list. Trust me. So
man. Oh, that's awesome. I'm getting emotional. All right. Before I cry like a bitch on this podcast, let's move on to the next one here. My number 5 is this has recent. I think the next few will have some recency bias too, but I think I can argue that it's something that I'm going to remember. And this one is going to hurt you a little bit, but it's opening my Skywalker lightsaber set for the first time.
Okay.
So here's why. I bought that thing on May the 4th, and we were doing some shopping for some people, and I rushed home because I was like, I want to put a video out. I want to be the first person to have a video. And I actually, on my phone, I actually might have the original take of this. But if you watch my YouTube video, I open the lightsaber set, and that's not the first take. So the first take was I opened it, and I looked down at my phone because I thought my phone was playing music. And I went and I was like, what's happening? And so because I opened it, and it just started playing the Skywalker Force theme, and it took me so off guard that I looked at my phone. I was like, okay, well, it's not playing it. And I was like, oh my God, it's the box. And I just burst into tears.
That's incredible,
dude. Because like when you know that's gonna happen, it doesn't hit the same. But like I didn't know. Like I had no idea. I'm not on Twitter. I wasn't on Instagram. I was like, I'm just gonna go home and open this. And I'm carrying like 4 of these things because I bought some for some people. So I'm like, I'm opening it. I'm not paying attention. I'm just like, I'm just gonna film a video. I filmed it on my son's bed. Like I literally just did it on the fly because I was like, this is gonna be cool. I want to document like me opening this.
Yeah.
And I just remember opening it and, just hearing that music and like just thinking about looking at what I'm looking at. And I'm not an idiot. I know it's not the same thing it's not the same physical props that they use in the film. I'm not stupid. I'm not detached from reality, but like just seeing that orange thing sitting there, knowing that that's what Rey put into the ground on Tatooine at the end of Rise of Skywalker, and hearing that music swell, which at any point in the movie when they play that music, it just kind of hits you. It just hit me, and I was just like, oh my God, this thing is real. And every once in a while, man, I'll just go. The box doesn't even have the lightsabers in it right now. I've put them in like their little docks box, the Doc Ondar's box, that respectively, in their boxes. And so I just kind of have the box inside, like off to the side, so no one can really mess with it. But every once in a while, I'll just go and open it, and I'm just like, that music just hits me, and I'm like, that was such a freaking cool experience. And that's one of those things where it's just I'm gonna remember where I was, and I'll remember how I felt, and it just that's the reality, and it's on there for me because it was just that awesome. It was just such a cool moment.
That's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. I remember the video you showing me, so I can only imagine. But it kind of segues into my number 4. Actually,
I feel bad that I ruined it for you, but it was one of the things I was so excited about it. I was like, oh, dude, you got to see this.
No, it didn't ruin a thing for me, and it obviously didn't because I never got the goddamn thing. Thanks again, Shop.
Thanks, Bob Chapek. You fucking that bald asshole.
Oh, the president of Shop Disney, who I now know is Stephanie Young. Again, not her fault, but I found it on Disney's website.
Well, hey man, if she can take the credit, she can take the blame.
Exactly.
So
I can't wait to see it in person, though.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm optimistic about it now.
When you're here in a few weeks, I'm going to get it set up like I had it that day, and I'm going to let you open it.
Oh, sweet.
You'll see.
Can't wait. Cannot wait.
And now I'm going to use a neuralizer on you before you open it so you don't remember this conversation.
That works.
Deal.
That works for me.
Deal.
I got a couple other memories if you could zap out. I'd appreciate it.
Hey, man, me too. All right, what's up? What's the number 4?
Number 4 for me is buying my first Legacy lightsaber. So this was in the pandemic, so fully masked up in a full-on black Jedi costume in humid September 2020 in Orlando, Florida. But it was the Savi's experience. They weren't doing the custom lightsabers again at the time. But, we got into Hollywood Studios. I don't think we snagged a Rise boarding pass that day because that wasn't our second day there. But it was the whole Savi's experience. You get the pass, then you walk in and the characters are pretty immersed and talking all code and everything seems like it's in canon and everything feels real. The cast member even made a mistake and grabbed the blade with the saber when it was turned on, but she recovered quickly and kept the Disney magic going by saying, "Oh, thank God I used the Force there. That could have been really bad." I thought that was, I don't know, just clever. And I was still very just cheesy about, I'm like, "Yep, hi, I'm Tom. Can I have Darth Vader's legacy hilt? Thanks, bye." just all like immersed, just because where I'm looking for the first time, and Savi's just looking all over the place. I didn't know where to look, and she's like, "Which one do you want to see?" Like, Darth Vader's. Give me a 36-inch blade. Yeah. So that's number 4 for me, because once I was done with it, and the rest of the day I walked around with it, clipped to my belt in the Jedi get up. It just felt really, really fucking cool.
That's a cool one, man. I don't have that on my list. I have some other stuff Galaxy's Edge related on my list. But the first one for me that I got was actually a gift from Holly. And the funny thing was, it was Darth Vader's lightsaber. And I took it back. She goes, I didn't know which one you wanted. And she's like, I know you like Vader. I feel like that would have been a good one. And I was like, well, if I'm only going to have one, because at the time I was like, I wasn't collecting lightsabers. I was like, if I'm only going to have one, then I want like the blue Anakin. I was like, would you be like one they call Rey? But I was like, if you would you be upset if I changed it? She's like, no, not at all. It's your lightsaber. You get what you want. So I took it back and got the one from A New Hope, the original lightsaber.
Yeah.
And that was my first one. Because I was like, well, if I'm going to have one, I got to have that one. Because I wasn't in all black like a psychopath in September, but, whatever. And so that's funny that was your first one, because that was actually technically my first one. But I literally, she walked out and I walked back in and we traded it out. And I ultimately got all of them. The only one I don't have, dude, is Ahsoka's white ones from Rebels.
I want that badly.
Me too. It's the only one I don't have. And I almost bought it the night I bought Darth Maul's lightsaber, and I didn't buy it because I went back and got a second Darth Maul one so I could make the full thing.
Oh.
So I could technically have all of them if I hadn't bought the second Darth Maul one. But, I have the 8-foot long lightsaber from Darth Maul, so that's pretty dope.
I just missed out on Ahsoka's when I bought Kylo Ren's my last trip. I remember seeing it like the next day. Ahsoka's was back in stock. I was
so upsetting. I do have the color changing ones that were signed by Ashley Eckstein, so that was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I do have those. Those are not out in the garage. Those stay secretly hidden away because those are cool. My number 4 is seeing The Force Awakens opening night. Like I mentioned before, I was working at a chicken plant. Didn't know if I was actually going to be able to go see it. And I think that to this day, that is the movie I saw most in theaters. Mostly because I was working at that chicken plant in Purdue in Concord. I got injured, and I had Movie Pass, I think. I either had, I can't so long ago, and I was on a lot of painkillers. But like I couldn't drive, so my mom would literally go. I'm like 27 years old. My mom would go drop me off at the movie theater and come pick me up, and I would go watch The Force Awakens like 2 or 3 times in a row, because I couldn't do anything else. I wasn't working. I was on like a not sabbatical, a medical leave. but I was like healing from a major surgery, and so the only thing I could do was like watch movies. And I was like, well, I don't want to keep watching stuff at home. And Force Awakens is out in theater, so I'm going to go watch Force Awakens. I saw the Force Awakens either 13 or 14 times, like in theaters. I can't remember the number, but I literally saw it that many. I've seen that movie so many freaking times. And I don't remember if it's because of Movie Pass or because I had friends that worked at the movie theater that would just give me tickets. I can't remember which one it was, but I saw that movie a ton of times. But that first night, dude, just that like anticipation and like I remember the very opening scene where he goes on Jakku, and you know he stops the blaster bolt midair, and I was just like, okay, we're good. It was after we meet Rey for the first time where I kind of like was able to like, oh, okay, this is a good movie. We're good. This is not like Phantom Menace. We're off to a good start here.
No, God, they had so much pressure with that flick. Glad it turned out the way it did.
Yeah, it was. That movie rocks. I love that movie.
Me too.
There's not as much depth to it, but it's just a fun, palate cleansing reset.
Yep, it's exactly what it needed to be.
Yep, it's perfect for what it was.
All right, number 3 for me. September 2019, my very, very first visit to Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. I live much, much closer to Disneyland, so before we moved to Florida, I'll be in Disneyland. I'll be driving home exactly 3 weeks from right now, but be in Disneyland in less than 3 weeks, so thank you very much.
You can go see Avengers Campus.
I can't wait to come on Jedi Talk and give my honest review of it.
I'm hoping it's good. I just don't see how it can be.
Me too. We'll see. But talking about the better of the two lands, visiting Galaxy's Edge for the first time at Disneyland, it just somehow, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, it just intensifies your passion, your appreciation, and your fandom for the franchise. And that's exactly what it did for me. Where else can you go to literally just be immersed in one of your most favorite things in the world? And it feels right. It just feels right.
Yep. Yeah, you are definitely preaching to the choir on that one. It's I'll talk about it a little bit later because it's not my number 3, it's my number 2. But my number 3 is in the same vein, doing Rise of the Resistance for the first time. So you are 100% preaching to the choir. That's why I wanted to say it there, because it's like you said. There's no other place in the world where you can go be in Star Wars. It's the only place. I mean, there's Disneyland and Orlando are the only two places you can go and immerse yourself in a 360 real environment of Star Wars. And it feels right. It doesn't feel fake. It's now, I will say the magic not goes away a little bit, but it does kind of dampen over time where you kind of start to walk through it with a more critical eye because, I mean, God, dude, I've been there. I mean, there was a point where I was going every single day during the pandemic. I mean, I've been there. I would venture to say hundreds of times I've been to Galaxy's Edge. So you start, I mean, with anything else, it starts to become a little bit normal, right?
Sure.
So you start going through things and looking at it. Like now I kind of look at it like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still incredible. But I kind of go like, I wish there was a little bit more. But that's just because I'm there all the time. And I can go whenever I want. It's 2 exits away from me. I can go anytime I want into Hollywood Studios and go into Star Wars. And that's something that I do not take for granted. It is unbelievable that I have that ability. But Rise of the Resistance for the first time, dude. There's a video I have somewhere. I'll have to find it. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yep.
Yeah, of me getting off it. And I didn't know that Holly was filming my reaction, and I'm crying.
Yeah. I saw that.
It was a 100% genuine thing. I didn't realize. I even looked at her, didn't realize she was filming me. I was shaking. It was the greatest experience of any Disney anything I've ever had. I mean, dude, we talk about immersive. Like the Haunted Mansion's pretty damn immersive, but this just takes everything to a new level. The only thing I would even change in that ride, there's 2 things. I would change the Kylo Ren animatronic. He kind of looks like Elsa. I would change that, and then I would also change like maybe having the screens be like the Nintendo 3DS screen where it's like 3D without 3D glasses. If they could figure out a way to simulate depth on it, like when you're in the escape pod back down, if they could find a way to do that and make it look a little bit more immersive. But I mean, dude, short of that, it's a perfect attraction. It's perfect. There's nothing they could have done better, except making it longer, which just would have made it even better.
Yeah.
But short of that, like there's nothing they could do to improve it. It's perfect.
It is. It is perfect. It's why it's my favorite attraction. Our second favorite. My first favorite is Disneyland's Haunted Mansion. But
see, my first favorite is Walt Disney World's Haunted Mansion. I like
everything. Really?
I like everything about Disneyland's Haunted Mansion better there, except the ride itself. I think our ride's stronger.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit. There's there's like there's that one scene in the middle where you go with like the MC Escher steps. I think that's really dope.
Yeah. No. I mean, I'm not dogging on the Disney World version. I think Disney World version needs the headless ghost.
Oh, the Hatbox Ghost. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I thought for a long time that it was going to be something they did for the 50th, but now with the pandemic, I don't think it's going to happen. But I have said for years I thought they would do that for the 50th. Add him here to our Haunted Mansion. But alas, Corona. What are you going to do? All right, dude. Oh, sorry. Yep. I said, but alas, Corona. I thought they were going to do the Hatbox Ghost here in Orlando for the 50th, but COVID happened, and I think that was something that was going to happen. Because remember they said for the 50 there was going to be like 50 individual things that were going to pop up randomly. I think that was I think that was one of them. Anyway. All right, number two.
Number two. Here we go. Seeing episode 9 in theaters for me. For whatever reason, my wife and I, and this was the culmination. This movie was the culmination of new fandom, old fandom, a re-energized love of Star Wars, re-energized just drive of the franchise. We had to work, or for whatever reason, we didn't see it opening night. It was going to be late. I don't think we wanted to battle the crowds, and the scheduling was just off. So we saved it for super early, first movie Saturday morning. And I stayed away from the internet. I stayed away from TV. I didn't even look to see if you guys posted an episode yet. It was like I stayed away from everything. And to me, this was the most fulfilling Star Wars movie experience that I've ever had because of how everything culminated. Now, Rise of Skywalker is up there with one of my favorites Star Wars movies, and of course it has its problems, but everything just worked for me, and I felt satisfied. I wasn't disappointed in anything, and again, I stayed away from everything except for 2 main trailers, and I walked out of it, wanting to see it again, and I did see it again, and I saw it a third time in theaters, but just trying to recapture that experience, but nothing will beat the first time you see it, just because of that anticipation, and it finally just you're relieved, and it's so much better when you can walk out feeling good about what you just saw, and that's everything that culminated for me in episode 9, and it came to a close. It came to a good close. I'm sorry, people who are pissed off by that. But.
Dude, I'm with you. I walked out of that movie going, there's no way anyone can watch that and hate it. And then I got on Twitter and I was like, oh my God, why? Why?
Yeah.
How? There are problems with the movie. There's some stuff that doesn't make any sense. Like I said before, Palpatine's back for no reason. It doesn't make any sense. I love that movie. I think that one, I still love that movie a lot. But the more I get away from it and the more I kind of become critical of it, being like, oh, there's some stuff in there that I don't love, but there's nothing in there that I hate. Whereas Phantom Menace, there's stuff I hate in Phantom Menace. I hate Attack of the Clones, the whole entire thing. It's a disaster. There's stuff. The first hour of Revenge of the Sith is fine, but not great. I don't love A New Hope. I think A New Hope for the first 45 minutes is really, really boring and very, very slow. But everything other than that, even Rogue One is a little slow at the beginning, but everything past that, I think, is brilliant. And that movie is no exception. There's not a slow moment in that movie at all.
No.
The pace of I remember that people be like, it's too fast. I'm like, what do you mean it's too fast? It's too entertaining? What are you talking about? I don't understand that argument. There's too much going on. There's really not. You just have to listen and pay attention. Put your phone down and listen to the movie. Watch the movie. That's the whole point of it. Watch it. Enjoy it. But there are some things when you kind of go like, wait, he's back and he's got a bigger army than ever, but no one knew it was happening. How are all these people on Exegol? Like, there's some stuff like that doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah.
as a fan watching it and it ending and it coming to a close, I couldn't love it more than I do. It's such a fun movie. But that's not my number 2. My number 2 is Walking into Galaxy's Edge opening day at Disneyland.
Yes, sir.
I'm such a liberal, not a liberal. I'm such a shill. I don't say liberal shill. I'm such a Disney shill to certain things. And I lived in Orlando, and this was opening in May, and ours was opening in August. And I was like, I can't wait that long. So I flew out. I flew out. Do you watch Offhand Disney on YouTube?
No, but I know who they are.
Okay, Dallon's a good buddy of mine, and I flew out. We shared a hotel room, and we were there opening day. Me, him, Daniel from TPM Vids, a bunch of people. Sam from what's his YouTube channel? Oh God, why am I forgetting his YouTube channel? Oh dang it! Expedition Theme Park. Jesus. I'm in his. If you watch TPM's video of Millennium Falcon opening day, it's me and Sam piloting the Falcon. I had such a blast. So Holly was like the whole time. She's like, "I'm going with you to Galaxy's Edge. Like I'm going. I have to be with you there opening day." It ultimately happened that she couldn't come with me opening day because of work and stuff, and I was able to just get 2 days off. They approved it like last minute. I took a last minute flight out there, and she goes, "Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Like you can go. Like you just have to promise me that you will FaceTime me when you first walk in." And so I got my wristband on. I think we got in at like 9 or something. I was like the second group. I walk in, I'm FaceTiming her, and I round the corner like by the one by the entrance by like Big Thunder Mountain, all that stuff on that side, like the far no, not Big Thunder Mountain, Splash Mountain, that side. Wait, where is that entrance over there? I'm having a brain fart right now. It's by Splash Mountain, right? Like past Splash Mountain.
Yep, past Splash Mountain over there in that kind of weird section that I always screw up.
By like Hungry Bear, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Past Hungry Bear. So
You're right.
I'm in there. Okay, I'm in there walking. I could place where I was in the park, but I couldn't figure out where it was in the park. If that makes any sense. So I'm walking in and I'm FaceTiming her, and I round the corner and I see the A-Wing, and I'm not like a big A-Wing fan, but like, dude, seeing that for the first time, I burst into tears, dude. And I'm just crying with her on the phone. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "It's real." Like it was almost like I didn't believe that it was real until I was there. Like all the videos and stuff, I was like, and then just like walking around and seeing the Falcon for the first time, I burst into tears there. Getting off Smuggler's Run for the first time, I burst into tears. It was just a series of me crying. It was such an unbelievably overwhelming experience. It's something that I don't ever think, no matter what they do, can be replicated. The only thing that can top it is my number 1. And my number 1 is a strong number 1. But it was, if my number 1 didn't happen, this would by far be my number 1. I mean, it was such an overwhelming experience, and it's wild to me that I can just walk in any time now. It's just weird. It's just strange, dude.
I can't wait.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. All right. I'm so excited. What's your number 1?
Number 1, and you should be able to figure this one out. You're involved a little bit. So it's riding Rise of Resistance for the first time.
Okay.
How could I not put this as number 1? And this is actually around the first time that I actually met you. So I met you on that one day when we were coming out to, we were going to Hollywood Studios on that specific day. It was a Saturday, I remember correctly, and you and I were chatting back and forth. And you said, "Hey, I'm going to be in the park. I'll get, we'll try to get your boarding pass. I'll show you how to get one," because I didn't, I had studied every possible thing that I could study to try to get your boarding pass, but I was going to put my faith into you, obviously, because you had probably ridden that ride about 40 times at that point, and you're at what, 75 now?
75, yeah, I think 70. Yeah. It's either 75 or 76. I can't remember which one.
Oh, big difference there. Look out. So anyway, we didn't get it because it was a Saturday. Everybody and their mother was there. It was probably the worst day of the week that we could have chosen to try to get a boarding pass. And we just didn't get one, and we failed again at 2 p.m. on that first day. So eventually, during our second visit to Disney Hollywood Studios on that trip, we were sitting outside of Oga's at 10 a.m. waiting for the first boarding group, passes to drop. And then we landed fucking group 6. And the whole experience was incredible. Just the anticipation, the sitting, the waiting, the pre-shows.
Wait, you got group 6?
Yeah.
I've never gotten a group that low.
Oh, do you want to know what I got in my most recent trip in April? I got
Weren't you
2.
1? Oh, 2. I knew you were like really, really. Dude, I've never gotten anything that low. I think the lowest I've gotten is 11 or something.
Okay.
And that was opening day, I think.
Do you think there's a theory that they give their resort guests a better shot?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. I agree with you then. So, because when I got
it has to tie into some sort of algorithm that they have where they know that you're a resort guest, and they, I'm spending $500 a night at the Grand Floridian. And honestly, you should get a better chance at Rise because you're paying way more. Like, I know that sucks to hear, but that's the reality. Like, you should get preferential treatment, 100%.
Yeah.
Versus me, who rolled out of bed at 6:58, planning to get a group, and I might show up that day. Like, come on, you definitely should get preferential treatment. Yeah.
So anyway, we land 6. The whole experience was just out of this fucking world. I still to this day, and I've only ridden Rise 4 times. I'm nowhere near up to the par where you're at and Evan's at. I don't know where Evan's at number wise. I think he's in the 30s, 40s, but
yeah, something like that. He hasn't ridden it in a while.
Oh, it's too bad, but I know he will soon. I know he's got a family coming, and I can't wait to take him on there. So, but I've only ridden it 4 times, and that's going to change. But by the time I move out there, again, I want to take this time to thank you and Holly specifically on our last trip. So the 4th time that we rode it, I believe you have a video out on the pre-shows being down, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, because I was the one that actually clued you into this.
Oh, that's right. Yes, this was not too long ago. Actually, I filmed this.
No,
this happened to you when you were here. Please tell everybody, please.
Yes. So we were getting the first time we got on to Rise, we got a 1:00 boarding pass, and I was shocked that it was like 1:35 or something ridiculously high, and Rise were working incredibly well that day. So I'm just like chipper. I'm watching the clock. I'm watching my boarding pass. I'm telling my wife and my brother-in-law who was there with us, it's almost time. It's almost time for Rise. They're moving quick. So then we get through, and we're waiting in line a decent amount in the queue, more than I expected. And then when you walk up to the one part right before the transport, where you see BB-8 off to the right, and you're about to get into the transport. No, this is Ray. This is right before Ray. I'm sorry. You walk right through. You get and you see BB-8, and you see the transport, and then we're taken to the left. And the first thing I thought of, I was like, shit. This was my worst nightmare. Rise is down where it walked off. And then before you know it, we're getting taken, and you're brought into the right behind the stormtroopers, and I didn't know what to think. And I'm frantically texting you, and I asked, "How long has the pre-show been down?" And then you were, if I remember correctly, you're just like, "Wait, what?"
Like, it hasn't been. It's been up this whole time during COVID, and you're like, "No." Yeah. We just went and you explained everything to me, and I was like, "Wait a second, hang on, I got to come down and find this out." And I went that day, got a 2:00 boarding group. Got group, like, it was something early. It was like less than 100, it was like 78 or something. And got on, and by the time I was on, they had fixed it. I thought you were crazy.
Yeah. And you so badly wanted to see the busted down version. I promise you I saw it. But the reason I wanted to thank you and Holly, because we ran into you guys at Hollywood Studios a little bit later. And we explained what happened, because you were still like, I can't believe this. I got to see this. And I can't remember if it was you specifically or Holly. Somebody said, because we had heard
it was Holly.
Show,
it was Holly. I give her all the credit.
All right. Holly said, go to guest relations. So we went to guest relations. I explained the situation. They said, go to the ride, talk to the people in the ride queue, talked to somebody in the ride queue. He walked up to a manager, came back, messed with us for a second, and then let us go. And we got the whole experience again. So I was able to hit ride twice in one day.
You are a part of a very small elite group of people who have done that. Not to pat myself on the back, but I did that opening day. We, for whatever reason, I think it's just because people weren't anticipating because opening day of rides, they didn't tell us anything. We had no idea there was a virtual queue until we were literally there as the park was opening, frantically trying to get on. I think that's when I got group 11. Got off pretty early on in the morning. I think we were on and off by like 7:30 or something crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was back when they opened at like 4:30 in the morning for Galaxy's Edge. 5 maybe. It was insanely early, whatever it was. I know we didn't really sleep the night before. That was such a fun time. But and seriously, I know it sounds like I'm being facetious, but it was so much fun. We had such a blast. Me, Kevin, his daughter, Evan, Dallin. It was just such a friggin' blast. We had a good time that night.
I watched your video recently on that. I think when we came back from Disney World on our trip.
Dude, it was so fun.
Yeah, they looked like a lot of fun.
It was so much fun. We had such a blast. But then we got back on and we're like, let's see if we can get in again, and it let us do it. So we rode it twice opening day. And I remember people being like, that's not supposed to happen. And we're like, well, you can't tell me no. we just got on again.
Yep.
But yeah, dude, you're part of the few, man. You're few the proud, the Rise 2-time group.
I'll take it.
The hashtag 2Rise group.
I'll take it.
That sounds like an R&B group from the 90s.
2Rise group.
2Rise group. All right, man. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm about to lay the gauntlet down on my number one. Are you ready for this?
Lay it.
All right, I got to give a little bit of backstory for this one. So, Star Wars Celebration, believe 2017. Me and Josh got media passes, and this is the year that they are announcing Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. We know The Last Jedi panel is happening. It's also the 40th anniversary of Star Wars, which is wild to think that it was like, they're already celebrating the 50th of Lucasfilm. It's nuts. So 40th anniversary of Star Wars. We wait all night at the Star Wars Celebration inline queue. We sleep on concrete floors on a blanket or two. Literally, I used my bag with all our equipment in it as a pillow. Josh, there's a video of this. It's hilarious. I'll have to find it and post it on Facebook. It was ridiculous. It was so silly. We had such a friggin' blast. So we were waiting that night to get into the Star Wars 40th anniversary panel. And there was all kinds of speculation about who's going to show up, blah, blah, blah. So fast forward to us. We got pretty decent seats on the very far left. We were like 5 or 6 rows up. We are extremely exhausted. We actually left after that panel, went home and took a nap. That's how tired we were. We got no sleep that night. Sidebar, there was a thing at Star Wars Celebration where if there was like these metal like lines, like queue lines. Like think about like Disney poles, like the metal poles in the ground. Think about those, but like you could easily knock them off. And so every time someone would like wake up in the middle of the night and like go to the bathroom or something, someone would wake up and like ultimately by no fault of their own, like knock into these things, they would fall on the ground and everyone would just start clapping as of like it was a big joke. And it happened all night. And then at 2:30 in the morning, DJ Adam or whatever the hell his name was, I forget his name. We've talked about it on the show before, started blasting DJ music at 3:30 in the morning. Nobody got any sleep. They were booing him until he stopped, literally. We were so tired. So 9 a.m. rolls around, whatever it was. We get into the arena for the panel, and it's the most mind-blowing panel in the world. Harrison Ford's there. Mark Hamill's there. Billy D. Williams. And you name a Star Wars person, they were there. I even think Peter Mayhew was there. It was before he passed away. Everyone was there. George Lucas shows up. And at the very end, they're doing a dedication to Carrie Fisher, who had just passed away. They had just wrapped up filming The Last Jedi. And they were doing this very sentimental, montage. Billy Lord comes out and talks. I mean, dude, it's a star-studded thing. Like, it was wild. It was wild. I can't imagine the security they must have had back there. It was insane. So this is where my number one comes into play. At that exact same panel, at the very end, Kathleen Kennedy walks out with George Lucas, and they're talking about Carrie Fisher, and they're just standing there on stage. And we're all looking at them because that's who's on stage. And the light on the stage goes dark, and a curtain raises, and it is John Williams, I'm getting chills, conducting the Orlando Symphony Orchestra, and they are playing Leia's theme.
Oh shit!
There's not a fucking dry eye in that entire arena. And everyone just is cheering and screaming, and like he's like telling people like, calm down, like relax, it's all good. They play Leia's theme, they play Imperial March, they play the Star Wars theme, and like maybe one other thing. I don't remember. It was such a mind-blowing experience. And that was it. And that was how they kicked off Star Wars Celebration 2017.
Yeah,
that is my number one.
That.
It's insane, dude. It was the most insane thing I have ever been a part of, and it's I mean, like, it's everything that makes me a Star Wars fan in one sitting. I mean, like, it was celebrating the saga, a new thing coming out, the music of it, Carrie Fisher passing away. It's everything rolled into one. Plus, not to mention, like I said before, we had gotten our first media passes to cover Celebration. So it was like this whole new thing for us. It was moving. It was perfect. It was beautiful. And it was exhausting.
Worth it.
Insane.
Worth it.
It was insane, man. I think about that every celebration. I've only been to two, but like the last one I went to, and I was so excited for the one this past year that didn't happen. But we have some good stuff to look forward to next year, I think. But I just don't see how they could top that. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
No.
Unreal.
God, no.
It was awesome, man. Well, dude, we did 3 hours, my guy. I didn't think
awesome.
I didn't think it didn't feel like 3 hours. First off, but
it sure did. This was fun. Yeah.
It was good times. But we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you so much, and dude, for real, I'm so excited that you're joining Jedi Talk. It's gonna be a new era. I can't wait.
Ginger, thank you, Brad, and of course, so I'm way beyond excited. So let's do it.
Let's do it indeed, my friend. All right. Where can everyone find you on the internet?
Sure. Instagram really is where I like to hang out at ginger_muscle is like my main page. And if you want to follow the podcast, it's really, we talk more DC really than Star Wars. This is where the Star Wars is going to be. At Motherbox Podcast, all on Instagram, sir.
It cut out. It was at Fourth Motherbox Podcast, right?
Yes, at Fourth Motherbox on Instagram, at ginger_muscle on Instagram. And if you're looking on Facebook, our podcast page is out there too, the Fourth Motherbox Podcast.
Well, after this, I'm going to go join that page. I can't wait to go talk smack about stuff I barely know anything about. Yes! It's the internet. That's what we do. You can follow me on Instagram at Brad Ventures, or is it the Brad Ventures? Dude, you'd think after doing this for as long as I've done this, I would remember what my Instagram handle is. It's the Brad Ventures. I don't know why I can't remember that. The Brad Ventures over on Instagram.
The Brad Ventures.
Check out youtube.com/Brad. I think it's the Brad. See, again, what am I doing? Why don't I know my own stuff? Anyway, just look up Brad Ventures on YouTube. Find the pineapple. You'll find me. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please rate and review the show on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you're listening to the podcast. Make sure you check out the Fourth Motherbox Podcast for all your DC content, speculation, all that kind of fun stuff they do over there. And dude, can't wait to kick off this new era of Jedi Talk. I'm going to go to sleep because I got to get up in 7 hours. But other than that,
I'll be right there with you.
I've had a blast, dude. Thank you so much for joining. And we will see you guys on the next show. Until then, I'm going to let you do it since Evan's not here. Till then, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Yeah.